Lakehurst's elite had an open secret. Every bar in Lakehurst had one hard rule. Ethan Hayes and dogs were not allowed. Apparently, I'd been partying way too hard. I stayed out for 5 days and nights. I drank at bars and hired models to dance. Then my billionaire wife caught me. She had me hauled home and punished me for 10 straight days. The next day, every bar in Lakehurst posted that rule. With my wife watching, I reluctantly called my friends to explain. Don't invite me out drinking anymore. I have a curfew now. I have to be home by 10. The more I thought about it, the madder I got. Why do you get to control me? We agreed to do our own thing. Chloe sneered. Because you put every bar tab on my card. My friend burst out laughing. Bro, your wife made that rule, didn't she? Red-faced, I muttered. I made the rule myself. I'd heard of men being scared of their wives, but none were controlled as tightly as me. I had a secret. I'd been reborn. I knew that within a year, my wife, Chloe Sinclair, would fall for a college guy. She'd even divorce me and turn against her family. In my past life, I chased her for 10 years. But I still couldn't stop her from loving someone else. To marry that man, she destroyed my entire family. This time, I was letting go. The ballroom buzzed with clinking glasses. From my corner, I overheard a young star talking to his agent. Aren't you going to say hi to Ms. Sinclair? The young star looked nervous. Ms. Sinclair doesn't like attention. His agent smiled. True, someone as famous as her is already the center of attention. Getting photographed would only hurt you. She really looks out for you. The young star blushed. She has been good to me. My car broke down, so she bought me a new one. She even asked where I wanted a house. His agent looked envious. Then step it up. Ms. Sinclair values you. Win her over. Her husband is just a figurehead anyway. I quietly swallowed a bite of cake. That figurehead husband? Yours truly. Still, I couldn't blame them for dismissing me. In my 5 years married to Chloe, the rumors about her never stopped. She wasn't in showbiz, but she was always making headlines. In my past life, hearing gossip like this, I'd have thrown my weight around and demanded answers. But after being reborn, those words couldn't shake me anymore. After all, I knew everyone around my wife was only passing through. Her true love was supposed to appear today, but he was nowhere in sight. Bored, I was about to leave. Then came a crash and a wave of screams. A waiter had knocked over the champagne display. The champagne splashed all over the young star's suit. His face darkened and he snapped. What are you doing? This is this year's bespoke design. Get your manager right now. The waiter looked close to tears, guilt all over his face. He kept apologizing, saying he was a college student working a summer job. But the young star wouldn't let it go. I walked over with a sigh. Leave him alone. I'll pay for the suit. He looked me over and clearly wasn't impressed. Big talk. Do you even know what bespoke means? You think a little money can cover it? The commotion caught Chloe's attention. She frowned and walked over. The young star rushed over and clung to her arm. Miss Sinclair, the bespoke suit you gave me is ruined. I gave my wife a knowing smile. It's just a suit. I'll cover it. Chloe shot me a cold glance. Then she gently comforted the young star. It's only a suit. I'll buy you another tomorrow. Go home for now. Then she left with him. The young waiter stood frozen, completely spellbound. I'd always known Chloe attracted men. I never thought she'd charm someone this young, too. I gave him a pitying look and turned to leave. He called after me. Thanks for today. Can I get your number? Dinner's on me next time. I waved him off. It was nothing. Before I could leave, the hotel manager came over and scolded him. How could you be so careless? Suddenly, something clicked. I whipped around. It was him. He was the man my wife had sacrificed everything for in my past life. She'd even broken with her family and forced me into divorce, just to be with her true love, Noah Bennett. The Hayeses and Sinclairs were bound by an arranged marriage. A divorce would affect countless shared interests, but she ignored it all and insisted on divorce. She even offered me an enormous settlement. But I was too blind then. I wanted her, not the money. I'd loved her for 10 whole years. How could some kid who came out of nowhere steal Chloe's heart so easily? I tried everything to stop the divorce, but I only drove Chloe further against me. In the end, she crushed me and forced the divorce. I died brokenhearted and alone. This time, I wouldn't be part of someone else's love story, as the bitter villain, and I wouldn't let someone who didn't love me make me feel worthless. I remembered when I learned about Noah in my past life. I tried everything to meet him, but Chloe found out and warned me. If I laid one finger on him, she'd end every partnership between our families. I cried as I asked her, what does he have that I don't? She looked at me with disgust. He's sunny and upbeat, everything good in the world. His background is the only thing you have over him. He's better at everything else. After being reborn, I finally understood a lot, like how love never follows logic. This time, I accepted the loss and returned to our estate in one of the city's priciest neighborhoods. The lavish villa covered over 10,000 square feet. It was a wedding gift from both our parents. To my surprise, Her car was outside. She was home. Chloe sat in the living room, legs casually crossed. Why are you just standing there? She glanced up, as cold as ever. I bent down to change into slippers. I remembered the smiley pin on that waiter's apron. No one else had one. Just him. My clothes, by contrast, were expensive, but always the same dull, minimalist style. Suddenly, I hated those slippers. I tossed them aside and walked in barefoot. Chloe frowned at my bare feet, clearly surprised. No slippers? I sat across from her and calmly said, I didn't want to wear them, so I didn't. Chloe chuckled teasingly. That's new. What got into you? Your future soulmate, that's what. 5 years in this lonely marriage had wrecked my health and left me thinner by the day. Meanwhile, Chloe looked as stunning as ever. I pulled my gaze back and stared at her. Let's get divorced. Chloe scoffed the second I said it. She tossed her phone onto the couch and stared at me coldly. Ethan, what game are you playing now? I sat straight and met her intimidating gaze. I'm serious. It's been 5 years. You'll never love me. Let's set each other free. In a month, Lakehurst will host the Lakehurst Belmont Economic Leadership Summit. That's where she'll meet Noah, a part-time greeter. She'll fall at first sight and stop at nothing to have him. I won't be collateral damage in their epic romance again. I did everything I could last time, and it destroyed me. This time, I wouldn't make a fool of myself. I'd leave before Chloe and Noah ever met. I'd clear the way for their love. Maybe my eyes looked too sincere. Chloe's face instantly darkened. She had a vicious temper. Cross her, and she never spared you. She smiled, but her eyes were ice cold. So I'm your toy now? You married me when you felt like it, and now you want out? Ethan, you think this is a game? 5 years ago, the Sinclairs and Hayeses were close, so they arranged our marriage. Chloe was never the type to obey. Only her dying grandmother had forced her to marry me. To Chloe, it was deeply humiliating. Luckily, she wasn't in love with anyone, and she was taking over Sinclair Holdings and needed a capable partner. So she settled for me for 5 years. I gave a bitter, miserable smile. Do you really want to keep this sham marriage going? Chloe lingered on the word sham, her tone mocking. What? Feeling lonely? I chose my words carefully. No, But Chloe stood and walked over. She leaned over, trapping me between her arms. Lonely? Why didn't you call me? Are your needs so strong you're asking for a divorce? Chloe always smelled faintly of tobacco and perfume. She never got this close to me. I'd only ever secretly smelled her coat. Now that complex, alluring scent surrounded me. I should have been thrilled. Instead, I felt trapped. I'd already decided to leave. Anything that shook my resolve felt like a bad omen. I tried to explain. It's not that. I'm used to being lonely. Chloe straightened up. Really? She'd never been interested in me. That flirty move was only meant to humiliate me. Chloe looked down at me, her voice cold again. I know today's our 5th anniversary, but I don't care about celebrating it. If this divorce stunt is about that, save it. I stood and looked her straight in the eye. We skip it every year. Why would this year matter? Think about what I said. You've probably gotten all the use you can out of me. You want freedom more than I do, don't you? Without looking back, I went upstairs to the bedroom. A door slammed downstairs, followed by a car engine. I knew Chloe had left. This time I felt completely calm. My phone rang. It was my friend Ryan Brooks. Ethan, come out. We're hitting the Monarch nightclub. Since getting married, I barely went out. I turned Ryan down 9 times out of 10. I agreed without hesitation. Sure. A long silence followed. It's your anniversary with Chloe. You sure you want to come out? I answered firmly. Yeah. It's an anniversary, not a funeral. I'm on my way. I searched the closet for 10 minutes and picked a black suit. The slim cut showed off my tall, lean frame. I bought it just to impress Chloe. She didn't come home once that whole month. My only complaint was how much weight I'd lost. Once dressed and groomed, I drove straight to the club. The Monarch nightclub was one of Lakehurst's hottest spots. I found Ryan and the others at the bar. Ryan grabbed my hand and shook it hard. Well, look who finally showed up. After a few drinks, my friends started teasing me. Ethan, if you'd skip tonight too. I'd wonder if we attended a wedding or a funeral 5 years ago. Ryan reached over, pretending to pry my eyes open. Why aren't you home having a candlelit dinner? Let me see. Did Chloe piss you off again? I swatted Ryan's hand away. Quit it. You're messing up my hair. These guys were my closest friends. In my past life, Chloe destroyed my family for love. They were the ones who helped me. I'd never forgotten how they stood by me. So I told them about the divorce, just not the rebirth. They went silent, then all started clapping. Hell yeah, here's to Ethan quitting the simp life. We're not leaving sober. Cheers. I shouted excitedly too. I could already see the free new life waiting after divorce. The tragedy of my past life felt far behind me. As everyone got tipsy, they also got bolder. Ryan clapped me on the shoulder. Ethan, see anyone you like? Don't be shy. Go for it. Chloe's always in the tabloids. We can't let her show us up. Tipsy, I scanned the room. He had a point. My gaze landed on a tall, slender woman. If Chloe can date a college guy, I can date a college girl. Glass in hand, I stumbled over. I tapped the young woman on the shoulder. Hey gorgeous, want a drink? My treat. She turned around, pretty and fresh-faced. She shook her head apologetically. Sorry, but I have a boyfriend. I quickly bowed in apology. Oh, then I'll find one who doesn't. The alcohol had short-circuited my filter. A few steps later, I tripped and shattered my glass. Dizzy, I crashed to the floor. The college girl reached out. Here, let me help you up. I looked up at her, flushed and bleary. Then I started seeing things. Her face became Chloe's, staring coldly at me. I tried to get up and planted my hand on broken glass. Blood gushed out. Everything went black. Ethan, you think your family can stop me? In my dream, I saw Chloe's cold, merciless face again. I sat in the wrecked living room like a broken madman. Tears poured out uncontrollably. When they learned Chloe wanted a divorce, my parents joined the Sinclair elders. They all pressured her. But Chloe ignored everyone and did whatever she wanted. She even paid a huge price to destroy the Hazes. At first, the Sinclair elders opposed and scolded her. Later, they had no choice but to help. Eventually, I heard they'd accepted Noah too. With Chloe fiercely protecting him, he gradually won over her parents. Chloe, I loved you for 10 years. Did you ever feel anything for me? I covered my face as tears slipped between my fingers. No. Ethan, I gave you a chance to end this cleanly. You threw it away. Chloe stared at me coldly. Then her phone rang. It was his custom ringtone. Noah's bright voice rang out. Miss Sinclair. Pick up. Miss Sinclair, answer your phone. I heard that intimate ringtone and watched Chloe hurry away. The room spun, and pain tore through my chest. I jolted awake, almost suffocating from the pain. I gasped for air and realized I was in my bedroom. Sunshine poured in and birds sang outside. Did that college girl really bring me home? I looked at my bandaged hand and rubbed my pounding temples. I was about to look for her. Then I heard Chloe outside the door. You guys have fun. I'm not feeling it today. She leaned against the upstairs railing, her voice lazy, her profile elegant. Holding the doorframe, I watched her approach. Where'd you hide her? Chloe's brows tightened. The college girl. I looked at her. It's rare I meet a woman besides you who catches my eye. I don't want to let her slip away. In a month, you'll go crazy over another man anyway. I might as well find some comfort and move on early. At that, fury swept over Chloe's beautiful face. She grabbed my wrist and dragged me into the walk-in closet. Change. Who said you could dress this flashy? Flashy? I looked down. I wasn't built. The suit was doing all the work. That hardly fit me. Besides, why should a woman who doesn't love me, why should you care what I wear? Chloe, did you really get a hotel room with that pretty boy? I didn't move. I just looked at her calmly. That's none of your business. Her answer was as cold as ever. Then what I do is none of yours. If we won't divorce, let's have an open marriage. I looked at her coolly. After all these years, I never got love. I need some excitement to fill the void. So this was what giving up felt like. It was freeing. Her moods no longer controlled mine. I finally felt like myself again. Women were born hypocrites. They could fool around, but expected their husbands to behave. Chloe was no different. She didn't love me, but she was still my wife on paper. And she wanted to cheat on me? Chloe sneered. With that body, you think any woman would want you? I looked down. I wasn't even showing any skin. I pushed her hand away and calmly fixed my clothes. I'll eat more, work out, and try cheating on you a few times. Ethan, have you lost your damn mind? Chloe finally snapped and stared at me. What the hell has gotten into you? I used to be calm, gracious, and considerate. I'd never spout nonsense like this. If Dad heard me, he'd probably have a heart attack. But acting crazy was my only escape from her future madness. Without Noah, she'd never divorce me. A business marriage was never a game. She was shrewd. Weighing pros and cons was her specialty. I couldn't bear watching her fall for someone else again. Then divorce me. I asked again. Dream on, Ethan. I'll make you regret marrying me for life. Chloe regained her icy calm, as if she'd seen through me. You want an open marriage? Fine. I froze. She'd even accept cheating just to punish me. Being forced to marry me had scarred her this badly. She needed this extreme revenge to cope. While my mind went blank, Chloe hooked an arm around my waist and pulled me close. She licked her lips, her gaze suggestive. Want me to help you work on that body? No. I immediately pushed Chloe away. People destined to separate shouldn't get physical. Chloe narrowed her eyes and studied me sharply. She was smart. She had to know something was off. She gripped my chin and forced me to meet her eyes. Are you Ethan's twin or something? Seriously. A man who'd loved her for 10 years couldn't possibly change this much overnight. I forced a stiff smile. Yes. Ethan, our marriage isn't that simple. Too many interests are tied to it. I don't have time for your drama. If you're really that lonely and want to fool around, she leaned close to my ear. Use protection. I won't claim some bastard. I'd already died once. I should have been beyond anger. But on impulse, I slapped her hard. The impact numbed my palm. A handprint bloomed across Chloe's cheek. She turned aside, her graceful neck framing an icy profile. Even getting slapped, she looked stunning. She slowly turned back, looking ready to strangle me. My hand shook, but not from fear. The slap had reopened my wound. Blood poured out. Chloe glanced at my hand, then walked away. She left me only her cold back. I watched blood seep through the bandage. Felt good. Better than bleeding inside like last time. After that slap, Chloe vanished again. She appeared in tabloids, moving from man to man. Clubs, at work, anywhere but home. I counted down. She'd meet Noah in just 2 weeks. Meanwhile, I kept visiting Crossroads Cafe. I'd order black coffee and quietly watch him work. I took in his every move. If I were a woman, I'd probably fall for him too. Noah, your girlfriend's here. A coworker called out to him. Right. I remembered he had a girlfriend. But his poor girlfriend was no match for Chloe. No matter how deeply they loved each other, Chloe's power still tore them apart. By the time I learned about Noah, they'd already broken up. So I'd never investigated the girl. The cafe door opened, and a young woman walked in. Sweet and fresh-faced, I froze. It was the college girl. Sophie, what are you doing here? Noah lit up like a kid and rushed toward her little cake. I had a job nearby, so I stopped by and brought you a little cake. Sophie and Noah smiled in perfect sync. Their eyes curved the same way. They already looked married. And Chloe tore them apart. What a damn shame. Noah looked happy but concerned. Seeing me is enough. You're already working so hard. Don't waste money buying me food. I work hard so I can buy you treats. Sweet talk came naturally to Sophie. It hit me that Chloe had never bought me food. Not that I liked sweets anyway. Since Noah was working, Sophie didn't stay long. I kept my head down in the corner, afraid she'd look too closely. She might recognize me as the man who hit on her at the club. Once she left, I quickly paid and followed. Sir. Luke always greeted me the same way. I said, home. I was exhausted. Why was everything more complicated in this life? I rubbed my temples. My brain couldn't keep up. Before we'd gone 100 yards, I spoke again. Luke, let me drive. My excuse? I wanted to show off my driving. I gripped the wheel and scanned the streets. Finally, I spotted Sophie waiting at the light. I timed it and floored the gas. I knocked her to the ground. I'm sorry. I jumped out in alarm and tried to help her. Blood poured from her leg. She was badly hurt. You? Sophie recognized me through the pain. No wonder everyone liked college girls. They sure knew what to say. I ordered Luke. Get her to the hospital. Her name was Sophie Miller, and she was a college student. She was 21. I sat on a hospital bench. I stared at her newly saved contact. A bitter thought hit me. I wasn't noble enough. The only revenge I could think of was giving him a taste of his own medicine. If Noah could steal my wife, why couldn't I steal his girlfriend? Noah may have been forced into Chloe's arms, but he later accepted her, and that drove her completely mad. If Noah kept rejecting her, maybe she'd stay rational. Especially if she thought her efforts might go nowhere. People streamed through the hospital. In my past life, my liver cancer spread beyond the liver. I spent my final days in a hospital. The doctor said chronic stress and anger raised the risk of liver cancer. I covered all Sophie's medical bills. I also paid generously for food and lost wages. Being hospitalized would cost her work. I'm easy to talk to. In half a day, I'd learned almost everything about her. She came from an ordinary family. Her parents ran a small business. She also had a younger brother in middle school. No wonder Chloe could steal her boyfriend so easily. Focus on healing. I'll come see you often. Before leaving, I put on my warm, big brother smile. It's okay. I'm young, so I'll heal fast. Sophie flashed a pure, bright smile. Young and healthy? Why did that sound so suggestive? I was only 27, not 72. But 5 years in a suffocating marriage, and years of barely eating, had aged me inside and out. On the way back, I stopped at a pharmacy for supplements. Luke, find some reliable housekeepers. They need to be great cooks. A nutritionist certification would be ideal. I gave Luke the order from the back seat, surrounded by supplements. Yes, sir, Luke replied. After I married Chloe, both families suggested hiring help. For cleaning, yard work, and cooking. But hopelessly lovesick me said no. I couldn't stand anyone else in our love nest. They'd ruin our private time, like going at it from the living room to the kitchen. Instead, I lived like a widower with a living wife. I was reborn. It was time to stop dreaming. When we got home, I walked ahead. Luke followed with an armful of supplements. As the door opened, Chloe came downstairs. She adjusted her cuffs as she descended. Casual moves always looked best on her. You can go, Luke. Luke set the supplements on the table. Then he bowed respectfully to Chloe and hurried out. There's a reception in an hour. Your parents will be there. Get ready. You're coming with me. Chloe didn't care what I'd brought home. She just informed me flatly. She never took me to events, unless I was useful, like when my parents attended. I hadn't visited my parents since being reborn. Not because I didn't care. After what happened last time, I still felt too guilty to face them. Okay. I got up and went upstairs. I hadn't been idle these 2 weeks. I'd bought a new wardrobe. The styles and cuts were completely different. I chose a sharp, slim-cut suit. The collar was finely detailed. I was too thin, but my height helped. Aside from being skinny, I thought I looked great. Once styled, I added an elegant watch. It would turn heads under the lights. The more restrained I'd been, the bolder I'd be now. Chloe waited downstairs, talking on the phone. She didn't react when she heard me. She didn't even look. I didn't care and went to wait in the car. She came out a few minutes later. From the moment she got in, she never looked at me. We didn't say a word the whole way. She drove while I used my phone. I'd added Sophie and was checking on her. Sophie, if you can't stand the hospital food, I'll have someone bring you meals. Sophie replied, no, really, the food's fine. I forgot supplements today. I'll bring some tomorrow. She replied, you really don't have to. I'm not being polite. I hit you and put you there. Don't be shy. Tell me if you need anything. Sophie and Noah came from similar backgrounds. Chloe could play the rich heiress with Noah. Then I could play the rich, handsome guy with Sophie. That felt evenly matched. I finally felt a little better. At a red light, Chloe finally glanced my way. That suit is wasted on you. So those TV scenes where the hero stuns the heroine were fake. I put down my phone and adjusted my collar. No charisma, huh? That little flourish made her face darken again. Ethan, can you watch how you act? Why? I've watched myself for years. What good did it do? Dying once really puts things in perspective. Better to let loose than keep myself caged. Don't forget who you are. Her tone had turned nasty. She never treated me like a husband, yet demanded I behave like one. I looked out the window, done talking. Before, if she said even 2 words to me, I'd be thrilled and scramble for things to say. At the reception, we played the happy couple for a while. After chatting with a few familiar business partners, I found a place to sit alone. Of all people, another young man sat beside me. It was Dylan Cross, the actor rumored to have gotten a hotel room with her. Dylan, why are you sitting here alone? Another man came over and asked him. Just taking a break. Owen, sit with me. Dylan's voice was bright and clear. I realized Chloe liked men with good voices. Noah had one, and so did every man linked to her. They started chatting beside me, unaware I was there. Owen kept teasing Dylan. Your Miss Sinclair's over there. Why don't you say hi? Cut it out. She's not mine. She's married. Dylan shot him a reproachful look. Her husband's never around. He's basically a prop. Everyone knows you're close lately. I heard she bought you a house. Owen was green with envy. Yeah. She's very generous with me. Dylan couldn't hide the bragging. I don't know why she's so good to me. I'm lucky I met her. Chloe was generous with everyone but her figurehead husband. Every man linked to her praised her afterward. That was the power of money. Then my parents came over. Seeing me alone, they asked, Ethan, where's Chloe? Why isn't she with you? At Chloe's name, Dylan and Owen snapped toward me. Their faces must have been priceless. I stood, linked arms with Mom, and smiled. What's the fun in staying with her? She just talks business. I'd rather hang out with you too. Mom gave me a surprised look. I hadn't been this affectionate with her in years. You two catch up. I'm gonna talk to Charles and the others. Dad was too blunt to notice I'd changed. He happily went off to find his old friends. Dylan finally recognized me. His face went red, then white. His eyes were hostile, but he didn't dare provoke me. I sat Mom down and started complaining. I didn't want to come. She made me. So boring. Come on. This is business. It doesn't matter if it's boring. Mom held my hand. She scolded me, but her tone was doting. I glanced at Dylan and kept chatting casually. It is boring. Oh, Mom, I had Luke hire some housekeepers. I want to bulk up. She says I'm too thin, so I need to eat and work out. Dylan bit his lip, barely holding it together. You should have done that long ago. Your place is huge. How could you manage it alone? Mom fully supported my decision. I wanted some alone time with her. Now I've had enough. I made it sound suggestive. Dylan was just another passing fling. He meant nothing. He wasn't important like Noah, so I didn't need to be careful. Dylan shot to his feet and hurried away. Owen followed, probably just as embarrassed. After the reception, I didn't want to go back with her. I wanted to stay with my parents for a few days. I'm heading out. Chloe never cared where I went, as long as I didn't embarrass her. Dad was still chatting away, oblivious that the reception had ended. Mom gave me the keys and told me to wait in the garage. She went to rein in Dad's urge to keep talking. I took the keys to the underground garage. I found Dad's car and was about to get in. Then I saw Chloe and Dylan tugging at each other. Dylan clutched her hem, looking hurt. You've been so good to me. You can't tell me none of it was real. Believe what you want. Stop bothering me. Chloe flung Dylan's hand away. That's Chloe. Once she got bored, she cut people off cold. One house, and Dylan thought he was her true love. She caught sight of me. Her impatient, disgusted gaze landed on me, as if I were the one pestering her. I jumped in and locked every door. If I hadn't been waiting for my parents, I'd have floored it and vanished. Seeing me avoid her like the plague, she lost her mind and walked straight to Dad's car. She knocked on the window. I could read her lips. Get out. I frowned, shook my head, and mouthed back, no. Then my phone rang. It was her. Ethan, get out here. I don't want to get involved with you too. Through the window, I met her furious gaze. I figured it out. If we couldn't divorce before she met Noah, I'd wait until she asked for one herself. Then I'd say yes and get some Sinclair holding stock. Not a bad deal. Last time, she asked for a divorce after chasing Noah for a year. She came clean to her family too. I refused, and we fought for nearly a year before I lost. Obsessing over revenge after rebirth was pointless. My past life felt more like a dream. This life was reality before the tragedy. I wouldn't become a psycho over one nightmare. Get out. Chloe was furious. She'd probably never seen me refuse her. Dylan walked over, his face streaked with tears. He grabbed her hem again and wouldn't let go. He was a celebrity. Why was he clinging to her like this? I saw my old self in him. I had no right to laugh. She glared at me, then grabbed Dylan's hand. She pulled him into her car. As she sped away, I breathed a sigh of relief. By the time my parents returned, I was nearly asleep. Why'd you talk so long? Ethan's falling asleep. Mom scolded Dad. The Southside project ran into some issues. We handle the approvals. We had to discuss it. Dad replied while buckling up. I sat in back, barely awake. I used to dream about chasing Chloe. Now I only dreamed of my past life. It was like fate kept reminding me of that tragedy. Mom, I want braised pork belly. Mom saw me in back and sat beside me. I linked arms with her and leaned against her. She smelled like home, safe and warm. In my past life, my parents sobbed beside my deathbed. They seemed to age overnight. You want me cooking pork this late? Mom playfully smacked my hand. What's gotten into you? Did you fight with Chloe? You usually go weeks without visiting. I was blinded by love. I grinned at her. From now on, I'll be your devoted son. Everyone knew my love for Chloe was one-sided. So my words surprised Mom. Dad nearly jerked the wheel the wrong way. Dad asked, you don't love Chloe anymore? I do, but I can still let her go. I could never make her stay. She wasn't mine. She belonged with Noah, young and radiant. Dad, we've been married 5 years. We're an old married couple. Who talks about love? I just think I need a life beyond her. I answered easily. Good. Chloe's in the tabloids every other day. I've hated it for years. Dad finally spoke freely, his resentment obvious. He'd kept quiet because I was so devoted to her. He was afraid I'd turn on him. I agreed. She's a total player. Once I started, both my parents let loose. Only then did I realize how much they'd endured for me. I was too ashamed to lift my head. It was late when we got home. I showered and went to bed. Sometime later, Mom knocked and came in. Half asleep, I asked, what is it, Mom? Didn't you want braised pork belly? I made some. Want to eat before going back to sleep? Mom looked at me as she spoke. I instantly woke up and sat frozen for a moment. My eyes burned, and tears suddenly poured out. I hadn't cried since being reborn. Even those painful dreams only left me shaken. I'd gone numb to the pain. But Mom had cooked my favorite dish in the middle of the night. I couldn't stop crying. Oh, honey, what's wrong? Chloe must have hurt you. I'll confront the Sinclairs tomorrow. No one hurts my son. Startled, Mom sat down and held me. Mom, Chloe didn't hurt me. I'm just moved. You're so good to me. I hugged her waist and choked out the words. Chloe never wronged me. I brought it all on myself. She was openly cruel, and I was her foolish admirer. Mom gently patted my back and sighed. I was her only son. She knew me best. Of course she knew how Chloe had hurt me. I rarely cried. I wouldn't shed tears without buried pain. Still want the pork? She asked. Absolutely. I've been craving it. I wiped my tears and climbed out of bed. Still sniffling, I linked arms with Mom and went downstairs. Dad was asleep, so Mom and I talked alone. The pork smelled amazing. I ate several pieces at once. I'd barely eaten for years, then suddenly stuffed myself. My stomach swelled, and I nearly threw up. Mom patted my back. Why eat so much? Your stomach will keep you up. I was starving. I gave her a silly grin. I hadn't eaten like this since graduation. Ryan and the others threw a graduation dinner. Then I married Chloe, and my miserable life began. Even if you're hungry, slow down. Don't stuff yourself. Mom spoke gently. I clung to her arm. Mom, sleep in my room tonight. Teach me about the working world. She agreed without hesitation. The next morning, I felt lighter than ever. I was well-fed and well-rested. After breakfast, I headed to the hospital. Sophie was on her phone. Her arm wasn't broken, but the wound was bad. She needed stitches and could barely move under the thick bandages. Sophie looked surprised to see me. "What are you doing here? You don't need to worry or keep visiting." I gave her a warm smile. "Of course I do." I turned to Luke. "Luke, bring it in." Luke set a pile of supplements beside Sophie's bed. The grand gesture left Sophie embarrassed. "It's only a flesh wound. It's not that serious. Your body is precious. Even a flesh wound matters." I sat beside her bed. "A wound's still a wound." Sophie suddenly asked, "By the way, I still don't know your name." I answered casually. "My last name's Hayes. Just call me Ethan." I didn't mind. I was 6 years older than her. Sophie nodded. "Okay, Ethan." I stayed and chatted with Sophie. College girls were so innocent. Sophie was an education major entering her junior year. She worked to pay her way and talked about her sunny boyfriend. She dreamed of a steady job and marrying the man she loved. I scoffed, then quickly stopped myself. Sophie hesitated. "Ethan, what are you laughing at?" I rubbed the tip of my nose. "Nothing. You reminded me of my college days. I had dreams like that once, too." Sophie looked at me curiously. "Where did you go to college?" I gave her a long look. "Hartwell University." That made Chloe and me upperclassmen to Noah and Sophie. Sophie's face lit up. "We go to the same school. You're my upperclassman." I pretended to be thrilled. "Yeah. Small world. Huh?" Lakehurst had several colleges, but Hartwell ranked among the nation's top 3. Anyone admitted there had to be smart. Graduates had bright futures even if they never got rich. If Noah never met Chloe, Sophie's dream would have probably come true. We started talking about Hartwell. As we laughed and talked, someone walked in. A bright, energetic voice rang out. "Sophie, I'm here." That unmistakable voice made me turn. Noah's neat haircut made him look handsome and mature. I didn't envy his looks. I envied that he was only 20. His youthful energy left me bitterly jealous. At 20, I'd already loved Chloe in secret for 3 years. I wasted my best years on a love that killed me. At the same age, Noah would win Chloe's obsessive love. While I hid my devotion in diary after diary, Sophie looked thrilled but guilty. "Noah, if I'd known you were coming, I wouldn't have worried you." Noah walked over with a bag of fruit. "Don't be silly. You have to tell me when you're hurt." I calmly stood and gave Noah my chair. After all, I'd soon be giving him my wife. What was one chair? Noah looked at me in surprise. "It's you. What are you doing here?" I smiled awkwardly. "Sorry. I accidentally hit Sophie with my car. I came to see how she was doing." Noah looked between us. Instead of blaming me, he smiled. "What a coincidence. Sophie, I see him at the cafe all the time. He's a good guy. It had to be an accident." His understanding left me speechless. Anyone else might have done it by accident, but I timed it on purpose. Sophie scratched her head awkwardly. "I know Ethan didn't mean it. He even overpaid me. I feel bad taking it." Noah immediately pulled out his phone. "No, he should only pay what's fair. Ethan, send me your payment info. I'll return the extra." Maybe it was his total disregard for money that attracted Chloe. He wasn't driven by money at all. His eyes were completely pure. Somehow, he always made my designer clothes look worthless. I calmly refused. "There's no fixed amount that's fair. Sophie's arm will probably scar. She deserves the money. You two talk." With that, I turned and left. The happy couple didn't have much carefree time left. Maybe 2 weeks. Then Chloe would come charging in. Noah would become her prey. Sophie would never be this happy again. Thinking about it, Chloe was truly heartless. After leaving the hospital, I told Luke to drive to Crescent Ridge Estates. It was where Chloe and I lived. My herbal medicine was still there. I wanted to take it home and brew it daily. With Mom's cooking, I'd pack on 10 pounds of muscle a month. The medicine packets were still in the living room. No one had touched them. I didn't know if Chloe came home last night or what happened with Dylan. Just as I picked up the medicine to leave, Chloe appeared on the stairs. She looked down at me, clearly annoyed. Why was she home again? Normally, she showed up once every 3 months. With that face and body, she was incredibly alluring. I looked at her calmly. "I never interfered with your past flings. I don't want to break tradition." Chloe stayed expressionless. "Really? So their deals getting cancelled and scandals leaking everywhere were coincidences?" So she'd known what I did, but she'd never stopped me, because those men meant nothing. Noah was different. Even when I only wanted to talk to him, Chloe became a furious lioness, ready to tear me apart. I didn't deny it. "You gave every one of them money and opportunities. That came from our marital assets. I was just taking some of it back." Chloe came downstairs, radiating authority. "Then why didn't you demand your share from Dylan last night? I gave him a house. Half of it is yours." Was Chloe possessed? I frowned. Why was she wasting words on me? Within a year, she'd ask for a divorce. She'd offer me more money than I could spend. Why would I care about one house? I hurried toward the door. I've moved on. He wasn't the first, and he won't be the last. I can't fight them all. I should have sent Luke in for the medicine. Only after I stepped outside did her icy stare finally disappear. I tossed the medicine in back and told Luke to drive. At the Hayes residence, I gave it to the housekeeper. Mom was cooking. It was her favorite hobby. Dad's car pulled in too. The moment he saw me, he glared and shoved his phone at me. Look at this mess. The headline read, Rising Star Dylan Cross Scene with Sinclair Holdings CEO. Both later deny romance. If they really had something going on, it wasn't a romance. It was an affair. I returned the phone and reassured Dad. Dad, it's fake. You know Chloe's a businesswoman. Sometimes she has to play along. Dad was furious. You're still defending her? I wasn't defending her. I just didn't want Dad getting sick over it. I rolled up my sleeves. Then let's go teach her a lesson. I'll help. Father and son together. We'll crush her. Dad had been scowling, but my joke made him beam. You never say anything sensible. Dark humor, maybe? I hugged Dad's arm to calm him. Come on, Dad. Don't be mad. Think of how much Sinclair Holdings boosts the economy. Doesn't that make you feel better? Dad suddenly remembered Chloe's good side. You have a point. She recently donated a new track to a school. At least she's giving back to the community. Exactly, I quickly agreed. As we talked, Mom finished setting the table. She called us over to eat. Every dish was my favorite. No one beat Mom. Lunch was warm and comforting. But Dad had to return to work. That left just Mom and me. A few of Mom's friends came over for mahjong. The four women played and chatted. I lay on the couch and opened the article. Dylan claimed they were just friends. Chloe was preparing to invest in a movie, so they'd been meeting to discuss the production. Looks like Chloe opened her wallet again. She was certainly generous that way. Before I knew it, I fell asleep. Ryan's call jolted me awake. Of course, he wanted another night at the bars. Ryan shouted excitedly over the phone. Ethan, come drink. There are hot girls. How hot? Ryan launched into an exaggerated description. Drop-dead gorgeous. That's all you need to know. Hurry up. Julian's already here. Mason was out of town for a gig and couldn't make it. Ever since they heard I wanted to divorce Chloe, the guys had taken turns making plans with me. Dinner, karaoke, shopping, they kept me busy. I knew they were worried I'd be heartbroken. They wanted to keep my mind off it. And honestly, I needed that. Otherwise, I'd dwell on my past life again. I hung up. I'll change and be right there. Ryan had already sent the address. Half an hour later, I headed out feeling refreshed. The night was just getting started. Ryan had hit nearly every club in town. He knew who had the best drinks and hottest women. The women he brought this time were top tier. They looked like minor celebrities. I'd had too much and started gagging. I was hopeless. Surrounded by gorgeous women, I still found myself comparing them to Chloe. Nothing happened beyond drinking. Chloe was still prettier. Her looks and presence were unmatched. I got up for the restroom. Excuse me, I need the restroom. The woman beside me immediately followed. She steadied me and I let her. Once inside, I threw up violently. After rinsing and washing up, I came out to find her waiting. Can I get your number? I teased her. What for? She answered bluntly. We can keep in touch. Call me anytime you get lonely. So Ryan had hired hostesses. Fueled by alcohol, I leaned in close. We'll see how long I can stand being lonely. Then I walked off. Women like her didn't interest me. Ryan was standing nearby. When he saw me, he rushed back to his seat. I held my head, feeling dizzy. I can't hold my liquor. I'm going home before Dad sees me this drunk. Julian stood up too. I'm heading home too. I have work tomorrow. He clearly wasn't thrilled about it. Ryan pouted. It's still early, but it's no fun alone. Fine, let's go. He paid the bill, said goodbye to the women, and left. We each called a driver. Before we split up, Ryan gave me a sly grin. Ethan, think Chloe will get jealous that you went drinking? I waved from the car. Don't mention her. Bad luck. Bye. Still grinning for some reason, he got in and left. I told Luke to drive and rested my eyes in back. Near home, a sudden stop jolted me awake. I jumped. Luke, what the hell? Luke pointed to a car blocking the road. Sir, I think that's Ms. Sinclair's car. Why was Chloe blocking the road to my parents' house? I rubbed my temples. Luke, take my car and head home. Luke quickly turned around and drove off. Home was only a 5-minute walk. I went around her car. Chloe got out and blocked my path. She looked furious, fire flashing in her eyes. Explain this. She opened her social feed and showed me. It showed me teasing that woman outside the club restroom. Our faces were close. It looked intimate. Ryan had posted it with a caption designed to stir up trouble. Plenty of fish in the sea. Ethan's finally free. I laughed. It was pretty catchy. Chloe gritted her teeth, her face turning icy. Ethan, I straightened up and asked, "Didn't you say we could do our own thing? So why are you interrogating me?" Chloe sneered. "You can fool around. Who said you could post it?" I'd almost forgotten we shared a social circle. All her friends could see that post. No woman's pride could take that challenge, especially someone as proud as Chloe. No wonder Ryan kept smirking. He'd posted it to infuriate her. My head was spinning. I didn't want to argue. "Fine. I'll tell Ryan not to post next time." I turned to leave. Chloe grabbed my hand so hard it felt like my bones would snap. I cried out and quickly ducked my head. Then I bit down on her forearm. My reaction stunned her, and she didn't push me away. She let me bite her. Her arm was firm and toned. Finally, she grabbed the back of my neck. "Are you insane?" She pulled me off like a kitten. A perfect bite mark remained on her arm. I stared at her darkly as buried heartache surfaced. I'd loved her so long without leaving a single mark. Yet Noah would leave countless marks on her. I'd seen them in my past life. Leaving one now made up for what I'd missed. I wiped my lips, tasting a faint trace of blood. "You don't get to question me. You've had countless rumored lovers. You think I have no pride? That no one mocks me?" Chloe stared at me coldly. "Didn't you ask for it? Did anyone force you to marry me when Grandpa proposed it? Of course not. Back then, if anyone had tried to stop me, I'd have threatened them at knife point. I thought she'd fall for me over time." I shot back. "Yes, I asked for it. But people change. I've moved on. Why can't I stop living in chains?" Chloe's answer was as cold as ever. "No, you chose the wrong path. Now pay the price." I sighed and suddenly asked, "Believe it or not, you'll ask me for a divorce soon. You'll want me gone from your life forever." Chloe gave me a heartless look. "Ethan, keep dreaming. She'd burn herself just to hurt me. Why don't you believe me? You will let me go. I'm drunk and need sleep. Just go." Chloe grabbed me and shoved me into her car. She sped away toward Crescent Ridge Estates. I glared at her. "Take me back. I left something there." She asked flatly. "What?" I was speechless. "My herbal medicine." She was terrible at conversation. "Are you terminally ill?" I smiled. "No, I'm too skinny. I want to fix my stomach and get ripped." Chloe seemed to recall something, and her face darkened. Then the alcohol hit hard, and I started dozing off. Sleep completely took over my brain. I expected Chloe to leave me sleeping in the car. But the next morning, I woke up in my own bed again. This was the second time she'd carried me to bed. This was getting weird. My head ached. I showered and changed, and finally felt better, but then hunger hit. Thinking Chloe was gone, I headed downstairs for food. Halfway down, I saw several people on the couch. They all looked up at me. Chloe was among them. She held a few cards. The second she saw me, her face turned pitch black. Madison cried out, "Whoa, my innocent eyes." I panicked and ran upstairs to dress properly, all while cursing Chloe in my head. Had she lost her mind or gotten possessed? Why was she suddenly home all the time? When I came back down, they'd stopped playing and were chatting. I knew Chloe's close friends, though not well. There was Madison Blake, Audrey Sterling, and Brielle Vaughn. All came from prominent families, though Audrey was different. Instead of joining her family business, she became a doctor. They all knew Chloe didn't love me. They'd never really seen me as her husband. In my past life, they even helped her chase Noah, except Audrey. They silently watched me walk downstairs and into the kitchen. I ignored them and made egg noodles. Chloe stood up. "Let's go." Madison and Brielle nodded and followed Chloe out. Soon, car engines started outside. I slurped my noodles, ignoring their departure. After breakfast, I cleaned up and headed to the hospital. I mainly needed a checkup, plus a visit with Sophie. I checked in at the hospital. The tests showed nothing serious, just mild inflammation. I put away the results and went to see Sophie. A nurse called warmly, "Dr. Sterling, want to grab dinner after work?" I heard it as soon as I reached the inpatient wing. Nearby, Audrey looked slender and elegant, with a cool, refined face. She stood apart from Chloe's crowd, untouched by their mess. The other rich girls excelled at partying. Only Audrey devoted herself to medicine. At most, she drank or played games with Chloe and the others. She'd never been linked to any man. Yet later, even she fell hard for Noah. I walked past her. I reached Sophie's room and found Noah there again. Noah was feeding Sophie. "Your girlfriend only scraped her arm. Her hands still work." Sophie happily ate the grapes Noah fed her. Noah laughed brightly. "What? You don't like me spoiling you?" Sophie smiled radiantly. "I love it. My Noah treats me best." She only had eyes for the handsome guy beside her. Cleared my throat. Their romantic moment shattered. Sophie looked surprised. "Ethan, you're here again?" Noah quickly stood and offered me his seat. "Have a seat, Ethan." Up close, Noah's chiseled face looked even better. I suddenly thought of Audrey. I grabbed Noah's hand. I dragged him out of the room, startling him. "Ethan, what's wrong?" He hurried after me. How had Audrey disappeared so quickly? I was disappointed. In my past life, Chloe met Noah first. Audrey met him later through Chloe. What if Audrey met Noah first? Would things change? Would she fall for him at first sight like Chloe? I sighed, then gave Noah a faint smile. Nothing. I wanted to introduce you to a doctor. She's good. Sophie can see her when it's time to remove the stitches. Noah smiled awkwardly. That's really thoughtful, Ethan, but Sophie's injury isn't serious. She's a grown woman. She can handle it. She used to dance, so she's used to bumps and bruises. I nodded but thought, next time I'd make sure Noah met Audrey. With Sophie's actual boyfriend there, I had no chance to talk to her alone. I left after a few minutes. On the way back, I stopped at the pharmacy again. I bought another batch of herbal supplements. Back in the car, I called Luke. Luke, did you find the housekeepers? Luke answered, Ethan, I'm taking them to your house now. Half an hour later, I reached Crescent Ridge Estates. Luke had beaten me there. The housekeepers were already in position. They were busy with their assigned work. Luke had handled everything perfectly. When I arrived, Luke introduced me. They bowed respectfully. Good afternoon, sir. I nodded and handed the medicine to the most composed woman. Brew this and bring it to me. Then I went inside to rest. A while later, she brought me the herbal brew and said politely, Sir, your medicine is ready. I looked at the dark liquid on the table, then at her lively, friendly face. What's your last name, ma'am? She quickly answered, Foster, sir. I gave her my friendliest smile and waved. Thank you, Linda. You can get back to work. Linda Foster nodded and walked away. My gaze stayed on her back. In both looks and manner, Linda looked remarkably like Noah. The world suddenly felt incredible, like a line of dominoes about to fall. I hit on Noah's girlfriend and hired Noah's mother. I texted Luke for the housekeeper's files. I focused on Linda's. An emergency contact was usually a spouse. When I saw the name listed there, I couldn't help smiling. Linda Foster, Daniel Bennett. Both names looked familiar. My investigation into Noah had yielded little in my past life, but I had found his parents' names. This game was getting interesting. I lifted the medicine, blew on it, and took a slow sip. The bitterness made me spit it all out. Chloe had returned without me noticing. She was changing shoes when she saw my spit take. Disgust flashed in her eyes. Don't drink it if you can't handle it. I wiped my mouth. Why do you care? And why are you back again? She yanked off her scarf, the rough move somehow stylish. This is my home too. Is there a problem? Chloe sat across from me, expressionless. I nodded. Right. I tried the medicine again, but it was unbearably bitter. I was used to black coffee without sugar, but even I couldn't handle this. Before I could swallow, I spat it out again. This time, it sprayed all over Chloe's face and clothes. Her face darkened as she stared at me coldly. The bitterness left me speechless. Seeing droplets cling to her curled lashes, I grabbed a tissue and pressed it to her face. That was the last courtesy I owed her. Chloe grabbed my hand and shoved it away. Her disgusted look made me freeze. That familiar bitterness spread through me. I kept calm and tossed the tissue. Sorry, it was too bitter. Chloe said nothing. She went upstairs to change. Linda came in and quickly cleaned the mess. She was more diligent and attentive than the others. When she finished, I said wearily, Linda, go make dinner. Linda nodded and got to work in the kitchen. I pinched my nose and finished the medicine. Eating more alone wouldn't fix my body. I had to get healthy inside before I could build muscle. Afterward, I went upstairs to the study. I opened my dust-covered portfolio. I took out my long-neglected oil paints. I began painting alone, completely absorbed in it. Lost in the painting, I relived everything I'd endured. I never noticed Chloe open the door. You're making a racket, she snapped. I'd been about to stop, but her complaint instantly angered me. In my past life, she'd complained that my painting was noisy, so I'd packed away the tools I loved. No wonder Ryan and the others called me an idiot. Out of spite, I scraped the brush across the canvas. The harsh sound made Chloe's brows knot tightly. I set down the brush and said gently, then divorce me. We can live apart, and I could bang a gong without bothering you. Chloe mocked me, as if we don't already live separately. That confused me too. Then why do you keep coming back? What kept drawing her home? Surely not me. Chloe couldn't seem to handle my new sharp tongue. Her face darkened. Normally, she'd have stormed out. One call could send her into another man's arms. But she swallowed her anger and asked, Ethan, you really don't want me home? Found someone new? Did she suspect I was cheating and keep coming back to catch me? I widened my eyes. Is that a problem? You said it was fine if I didn't post it. Chloe snarled, you'd really dare cheat on me? I shot back, equal rights. Why can't I do what you do? As we faced off, Linda cautiously interrupted. Ms. Sinclair, Mr. Hayes, dinner is ready. I pushed past Chloe and went downstairs. I wouldn't ruin my health over her again. Linda was an excellent cook. The 3 dishes and soup looked and smelled amazing. I finished 2 bowls of rice. From the corner of my eye, I saw Chloe come down and leave. I finished the last sip of soup and praised Linda with a smile. This is delicious, Linda. You're an amazing cook. Anyone in your family is truly lucky. Linda looked embarrassed. Sir, they're just home-cooked dishes. You're too kind. I shook my head. I'm serious. They're delicious. Hasn't your family ever told you that? Linda's eyes filled with affection. My son loves my cooking too. He's always telling me to open a little restaurant. That boy makes it sound too easy. My smile faded. He's not wrong. When luck comes, dreams can happen fast. Before I died in my past life, I wanted to see Chloe. Dad said she was cutting the ribbon at her mother-in-law's restaurant opening and couldn't come. Of course, Chloe funded it. It became one of Lakehurst's 3 biggest restaurants. Linda answered with humble respect. We're just an ordinary family. Luck doesn't come our way. I almost told her right then. You can't stop luck, Linda. What if your son marries well? Don't sell yourself short. Your family's big break would come in less than 2 weeks. But I held my tongue. I saw Linda's awkward smile and left the table. The Bennetts weren't bad people. I could admit that. In my past life, his parents strongly opposed the relationship. Dating a married woman before graduation? The scandal alone would disgrace them. But over time, Linda Foster and Daniel Bennett were moved by Chloe's persistence and accepted them. But while they celebrated, her lawful husband, was living through hell. After a shower, I settled into bed and scrolled through my phone. I found a story about Chloe partying with men at a bar. Madison Blake and a few handsome guys were with her. Chloe drew attention wherever she went. With her status, even eating street noodles could make headlines. As her husband, I kept coming up in the comments. Her husband's patience is superhuman. He's the ultimate ninja. If she were my wife, I'd even wait on her boy toys. Easy to say. You'd never take it if it happened to you. Since marrying, Chloe had more rumored lovers than stars in the sky. Some pitied me, some envied me, and some mocked me. I laughed it all off. Just as I was about to sleep, Mason's urgent call jolted me wide awake. Ethan, get over here. Something happened. I jolted up. What? Calm down. Ryan and Chloe are about to fight. Then Mason hung up. Hurry. I sent you the address. My head filled with questions. Why would Ryan clash with Chloe? Even with Chloe's temper, she wouldn't hit a man. I changed and rushed out. By the time I reached the bar, Chloe and Ryan had already been talked into a private room. Otherwise, people like them would have made headlines. When I arrived, Mason pulled me over to Ryan. Ryan was still furious, glaring at Chloe. He looked like she was his worst enemy. Chloe looked even angrier, radiating menace. Madison stood beside her like a terrified maid. Madison looked from Chloe to me. I'm sorry, brother-in-law. Your friend got the wrong idea. I invited those guys. They had nothing to do with Chloe. Madison was 4 years younger than Chloe. It was the first time she'd called me that. Ryan pointed at Madison and roared. His face was practically touching hers. That's nothing? Madison looked ready to cry. Chloe's icy gaze swept over Ryan. Then it landed on me, as if she wanted my response. I ignored her gaze and reassured Ryan. Ryan, it's fine. You're overthinking it. Madison called those guys. Chloe has better taste. She's not into pretty boys. Anyone would think Ryan was the one being cheated on. The room fell silent. Ryan and Mason stared at me in shock. Ethan, are you serious? They knew Chloe and I were planning to divorce. But they never expected me to be calmer than everyone else. Ryan had even lost it and cursed her out tonight. Yet after loving her for years, I felt nothing. I grabbed Ryan with one hand and Mason with the other. Of course. Come on, let's go. We'll have a few drinks first. My treat. I never looked at Chloe again. Haley Mercer blankly reminded Chloe. Chloe, your brother-in-law and the others left. Chloe's icy voice burned with rage. What brother-in-law? He doesn't deserve the title. Her words reached me just as the door closed. Felt like a needle pierced my heart. But I could bear it. I didn't deserve the title. Noah could have it. We found an open table and started drinking. Ryan kept asking me, Ethan, have you really let Chloe go? I nodded. That much I knew for sure. Ryan raised his glass and drained it. Now that's what I admire. Bro, 10 years of love. And you walked away just like that. You're a real man. Mason raised a glass to me too. Just as we were enjoying ourselves, Mason got a check-in call from his girlfriend. His love life was the smoothest. They were already discussing marriage. Henpecked Mason immediately got up to leave. Guys, my girl's waiting for dinner. I'm out. Ryan deliberately teased him. Damn, you going home to breastfeed her too? Mason laughed, cursed him out, and bolted. After he left, I paid, and Ryan and I went our separate ways. When I returned to Crescent Ridge Estates, I smelled the alcohol on me and headed for a shower. Steam hit me as soon as I entered. A figure emerged through the mist. I stared like I'd seen a ghost. Chloe stood before me. In 5 years of marriage, I'd never seen her like this. After a few silent seconds, I reminded her, this is my bathroom. I'd used the primary bedroom since we married. Whenever she came home, she slept in the guest room or study. This bathroom belonged to the primary suite. Chloe calmly dried her hair. Got a problem? I answered honestly. Not really. You're gorgeous, so I'm not complaining. Even if Chloe were broke, that face alone would make her irresistible to men. She gave me a dark look and stepped closer. I had no choice but to step back. By then, the steam had cleared. I had to control myself, so I turned aside. Okay, I need a shower. Get out. The next second, a hand cradled the back of my head. Chloe tilted her head up and kissed me. The faint mint taste slipped into my mouth. I froze in shock and didn't move. When I didn't respond, she deepened the kiss. She clearly knew how to kiss. I was a complete rookie. I let her control the entire rhythm. Men naturally run warmer. Between that and losing my breath, I was soon drenched in sweat. The tension in the bathroom kept building. I tried to push her away, but she stopped me. That only pressed us closer. Maybe I should give in. I'd fulfill a wish from my past life. Not a bad deal. She hadn't exactly been celibate before meeting Noah. I gave in, closed my eyes, and kissed her back. Desire I shouldn't feel began to stir. Just as I was losing control, Chloe suddenly stopped. She released me, the desire fading from her eyes. I stared at her blankly. She sneered. So it was all an act. I didn't understand. What was fake? Me not loving you anymore? Chloe cruelly rubbed the corner of my mouth. Looks like you were putting on a show for your friends. Ethan, so now you're playing hard to get? So this was just her way of testing me. My head cleared instantly. I fixed my clothes and stayed composed. I looked down at her, feeling bitter and ridiculous. Was that really necessary? I'm not playing hard to get. You just aren't used to me being cold. Like a loyal dog suddenly stops wagging its tail. You don't like it, but you'll get used to it. Chloe asked with amusement. Are you a dog? I held my disheveled collar and answered flatly. You already know. She wasn't some innocent girl. Of course she knew. I'd confessed countless times, and she never cared. Plenty of men loved her. I was only different because I married her. Chloe scoffed, suddenly in a great mood. Go take your shower. Then she left the bathroom. I shut the door and rushed to the mirror. My face was flushed. I wanted to slap myself. How pathetic. One little tease, and I nearly fell for her again. I spent 3 minutes replaying the past until I calmed down. I showered and went back to bed. Chloe had already left. Her engine faded into the distance. Watching her car disappear into the night left me irritated. She probably wouldn't be back for a while. Tonight proved I was still in the palm of her hand. She could keep wasting my love without a care. To restore my pride, I had Luke drive me out the next morning. I wore a fitted charcoal suit for a mature look. I didn't need to copy Noah's sunny charm. And I had no need to compare myself with Adrian Knox. At the hospital, I placed flowers beside Sophie's bed. I lowered my voice, smooth and deep. Sophie, how's your arm? Sophie put down her phone. Much better, Ethan. The doctor says I can leave tomorrow. I sat beside her and adjusted my cuffs. Good. Your boyfriend didn't come today? Sophie smiled sweetly. He has work. We both take jobs to ease the burden. I nodded and chatted with her. I checked my phone and exclaimed, how is my phone dead already? Sophie pointed to the nightstand. Ethan, I have a charger. I took it and deliberately leaned over to plug it in. I was almost hovering over her. It looked intimate. By the time I sat back down, her face was bright red. So innocent, I thought. From the corner of my eye, I saw Audrey watching darkly from the doorway. When did she get here? She'd seen me deliberately lean close. This was awkward. I forced a smile. Dr. Sterling, what are you doing here? Audrey walked in and answered flatly, covering a shift. Audrey came in, her answer cool and brief. She examined Sophie's injury. Then she gave a few brief instructions. I watched from the side, feeling oddly guilty. Audrey was different to me. Our only connection in my past life was teaming up to take Chloe down. Before that, we barely knew each other. She'd never done anything to hurt me. In the end, she even helped find doctors for me. She glanced at me. Come with me. I reluctantly stood up. Audrey took me to her office. The other doctors were gone. She sat alone at her desk. She flipped through patient files and asked without looking up, how are things with Chloe lately? Her dark hair looked silky. It was tied back, exposing her pale neck. From her refined profile, I could see her sharply defined nose. Same as always. That's marriage. That's why people chase thrills. But the price is often huge. Audrey's voice was like her, calm, but distant. I frowned. Why don't you lecture Chloe? Audrey closed the file and finally looked at me. I tried. She wouldn't listen. I didn't realize how sulky I sounded. Then I won't listen either. Something shifted in Audrey's eyes. My sudden tone seemed to surprise her. I quickly composed myself. You're her best friend. You know what she's done over the years. I never fought, caused scenes, or crossed any lines. I've already been more than fair. That girl back there? I accidentally hit her with my car. That's why I visit. Nothing else. I act differently around Chloe because I want a divorce. But I don't want to lose control around everyone else. I still need a normal life after the divorce. Audrey studied me, clearly unconvinced. The other doctors returned. Audrey looked away and waved me off. Okay, she can be discharged tomorrow. That's all. Why was talking to her even more suffocating than talking to Chloe? With Chloe, I had nothing left to lose. Worst case, we divorced, which was exactly what I wanted. But Audrey made me feel like I'd been caught. Like she'd caught me doing something shameful. After leaving Audrey's office, I planned to go check on Sophie. I wanted to keep working my mature charm, but I stopped. Then I hurried back to Audrey's office. I sat across from Audrey and lowered my voice. Dr. Sterling, wanna grab dinner? I do have some things about Chloe and me I need to talk through. As if I really wanted to talk. I really wanted Audrey to meet Noah sooner, so she could beat Chloe to him. Audrey looked at me in mild surprise. We'd never eaten together. We barely even said hello. A quick glance was usually all we exchanged. But it concerned her best friend's marriage, and both families had a lot at stake. After thinking it over, she agreed. Fine. Tonight. I'm free. I eagerly pulled up my contact QR code and held it out. Great. I know a cafe with amazing coffee. It's quiet and comfortable. Perfect for talking. Add me and I'll send the location. Audrey glanced at the code, then handed me a pen. No, write it down. What was she, a caveman? I gave her an exasperated look and scribbled the address down. I put down the pen with a smile. Crossroads Cafe, 8:30 tonight. I left in a great mood. At 8, Audrey would be at the cafe. She wouldn't meet me, only Noah. That thought kept me excited all day. I couldn't wait to see Audrey meet Noah. I decided to go in disguise and witness history. Chloe and Audrey really were best friends. They even loved the same man. I just didn't know how Audrey felt about Noah. Love at first sight or something that grew over time. If it wasn't love at first sight, tonight would be a bust. I put on loose clothes and a wig. Around 8, I went alone to Crossroads Cafe. I stayed outside and peered through the windows. Sure enough, Audrey sat in a corner by the wall. Wasn't that my old favorite spot? Her hair was down as she sat quietly drinking coffee, cool and distant. She wasn't even on her phone. Where was Noah? I searched the counter for him, but Noah was nowhere around. Instead, my sneaking around caught Audrey's eye. She saw me and came outside. I wanted to run, but couldn't. Audrey didn't hold back when she saw me. Ethan, are you blind? Annoyed, I yanked off the wig. You're a doctor. Can you watch your language? Honestly, that wig was hot. Audrey frowned at me. You invited me to talk, then stood outside in a wig. What the hell? I came, didn't I? I was just checking if you were inside. Audrey didn't argue. She opened the door and ordered, get in. Wig in hand, I reluctantly went inside. I searched the counter again as we passed. Noah still wasn't there. I asked another employee, where's Noah? He's off today. My face fell. All that anticipation vanished. Dejected, I followed Audrey to her table. I ordered my usual black coffee and drank in silence. Audrey stared at me. Didn't you want to talk about you and Chloe? I shrugged. Not anymore. Coffee's on me. You should head home and rest. The moment I said it, the air around her turned icy. Her glare rivaled Chloe's as she demanded coldly, are you messing with me? I looked innocent. Of course not. I just realized there's nothing to say. You all know I've loved her alone for years. She didn't love me then. She doesn't now. And she never will. What's left to discuss? I continued irritably. If you really want to help, convince her to divorce me. Audrey stared straight at me. She seemed to be judging if I meant it. Her stare unnerved me, so I pretended to sip my coffee. Audrey finally spoke. Your arranged marriage binds two powerful families. You know that. Unless something serious happens, you can't divorce. Chloe won't agree. I sighed. You know her well. She said the same thing. Best friends really do think alike. Audrey said nothing and took a sip. I was done talking, especially with Noah gone. A supporting character like me shouldn't get too close to the lead. We drank in silence for 3 minutes. Then I got up to pay. Audrey stood and stopped me. I'll get it. I didn't argue. Sure. The bill was pocket change to Audrey. While Audrey paid, I slipped out. As I turned at the intersection, I saw her emerge in my mirror. She was watching my car drive away. I shook my head inside. Audrey was destined to fall one step behind Chloe. I tried helping her twice and failed both times. Chloe and Noah's bond had to be made of steel. Trying to set Audrey up with him was a waste of time. Forget it. It was only 10 more days. I could wait. As expected, Chloe didn't come home all week. We went back to how things were. No calls, no meetings. I enjoyed the freedom. I had time for myself. I picked Sophie up when she was discharged. I treated her and Noah to dinner, then trained hard at painting. I had to rebuild the skills I'd neglected and drank my medicine 3 times a day. With Linda's cooking, I actually gained 2 pounds. At our next get-together, Ryan clapped my shoulder. Ethan, what miracle drug are you on? You look amazing. You're glowing. I answered cheerfully. Herbal medicine and bigger meals. The weight gain plan is working. Mason pretended to be offended. Quit bragging. The rest of us are trying to lose weight. Meanwhile, you're taking herbs just to gain it. Julian patted Mason's shoulder. That's relationship weight. Be grateful. Mason's girlfriend was a great cook. She kept him well fed. Mason smugly bobbed his head. Jealous? That's the perk of dating a great cook. Her family wasn't as wealthy as his, but she was kind, beautiful, and sweet, so the Coles approved. Something suddenly occurred to me. Mason, bring me along if a good gig comes up. I'm bored at home. I need a career. Mason stared at me in surprise. You'd actually go? I looked completely serious. Of course, if the right chance comes. What else would I do? I considered starting at the bottom at Hayes Ventures. But that's not my calling. My parents are healthy and don't need me yet. I want to reclaim my dream. Mason slapped his thigh. I've wanted to say this for years. You were Hartwell's art heartthrob. Being a house husband wastes your talent. If I hear about any classy art events, I'll recommend you. I clasped my hands gratefully. Then I owe you one. Everything tonight is on me. After drinking, Ryan and the others headed home. I called Luke to come drive me. As I hung up, I heard a familiar voice. It was Sophie. Ethan. I was confused. Sophie, what are you doing here? Sophie looked at me. I just got off a job nearby. Have you been drinking? She must have smelled the alcohol on me. I held my head and nodded. The alcohol had me dizzy. Sophie, can you drive? She quickly answered. If you can't, I can drive. What a sweet girl. I tossed Sophie the keys and told Luke not to come. When Sophie saw the silver Rolls-Royce, surprise and envy flashed in her eyes. Ethan, this is your car? Dizzy, I answered. Yeah. Use the GPS and take me to Crescent Ridge Estates. Sophie froze again. Crescent Ridge Estates? The homes there cost a fortune. She'd clearly heard of it. Sophie still looked stunned. So I leaned in and rested limply against her shoulder. Why are you standing there? My head's killing me. A seemingly accidental drunk move like that could easily feel intimate. Sophie realized how close we were and hurriedly steadied me, blushing hard. Careful, Ethan. Don't fall. Sophie and Noah were alike. Money didn't sway either of them. Even knowing I was rich, she kept a clear head. I pretended to laugh drunkenly. You're so thoughtful, Sophie. Your boyfriend must be happy. Unlike me, my marriage failed, and all I have is money. This is the most ordinary car I own. If you like it, it's yours. If Chloe could give other men cars and houses, so could I. That made things feel perfectly even. Sophie quickly shook her head and helped me into the car. No, Ethan. You're drunk. I'll just take you home. Sophie drove slowly and carefully. She was probably afraid she couldn't afford a scratch. I pretended to sleep. I occasionally checked our location. After a while, Sophie spoke. Ethan, we're at Crescent Ridge Estates. Which villa? With my eyes closed, I answered, Villa 8. Sophie entered the villa number and finally got me home. Once parked, I pulled out my wallet and offered her a stack of cash. Take it. Your driving fee and tip. Sophie froze and quickly pushed it back. I don't need money, Ethan. I was helping, not doing business. I unbuckled and got out. Keep it. Getting a cab this late is hard. Drive this home. I'll send my driver for it tomorrow. Without waiting for her answer, I walked inside. The moment I got home, I woke Linda to make hangover tea. Linda went straight to the kitchen without complaint. In 2 or 3 days, Chloe would attend the Lakehurst Belmont Economic Leadership Summit. Her meeting with true love was getting closer, and so was my freedom. Soon, a car engine shut off outside. Chloe appeared and glanced at me sprawled on the couch. She sat across from me, reeking of alcohol too. She wasn't much better than me. Linda set the hangover tea down. Then she respectfully greeted Chloe. Your tea is ready, sir. Welcome home, Ms. Sinclair. Chloe gave her a cold glance and said nothing. I sat up and beamed at Chloe. You drank too, right? Here, you take this one. Linda, please make me another. Linda nodded and returned to the kitchen. Chloe didn't touch the cup. She said coldly, I don't need it. I felt a little smug. Her future mother-in-law had made this herself. Once Chloe started chasing Noah, she'd have to beg for this woman's approval. Today, she ignored her housekeeper. Soon, that future mother-in-law would be out of reach. Linda brought another cup. I said pointedly to Chloe, I woke Linda up to make this. Not taking one sip would waste all her effort. Linda quickly replied, Miss Sinclair, Mr. Hayes, it's my job. It was no trouble. I spoke gently while quietly insulting Chloe. She's rude and has a terrible temper. Don't take it personally, Linda. Wasn't she going to fall madly in love with Noah? I was making her future pursuit a little harder. Linda was starting to panic. No, sir. It's really not that serious. I waved her off. It's fine, Linda. Go get some rest. After Linda left, I drank half the tea and went upstairs to shower. Chloe went to the guest room as usual, but when I finished showering, I found her sitting on my bed. She was even in pajamas. I frowned. Why are you in my room? Chloe looked equally annoyed. My parents are here. They're using the guest room. I was shocked and confused. In my past life, her parents desperately wanted grandchildren, but never came here to supervise us. Why had they suddenly come now? I was caught off guard. Sudden? Chloe sneered. You know exactly what you told Audrey. So Chloe came back for a late-night inspection. I swear, I never thought Audrey would tell on us. She'd even brought my in-laws here. Damn butterfly effect. I wasn't taking the blame. I barely said anything. I just asked her to convince you to divorce me. How was I supposed to know she'd tell your parents? Chloe was already irritated, and her tone turned hostile. How long are you going to keep up this act? I didn't answer. I opened a drawer and took out a divorce agreement. I'd signed it and waived all her assets. I only wanted the divorce. I handed the agreement to Chloe. Sign it and you'll know if I'm playing hard to get. The air froze as Chloe's face grew darker. Just as she was about to tear it up, someone knocked. My mother-in-law called through the door. Chloe, Ethan, are you asleep? Chloe immediately hid the agreement under the covers and opened the door. Why are you still up this late? My mother-in-law spoke to Chloe from the doorway. I was heading to bed, but your light was still on. I wanted to see if you were asleep. I joined them at the door and played along. Mom, Chloe and I were just going to bed. I linked arms with Chloe and leaned affectionately on her shoulder. Chloe glanced at me without reacting. My mother-in-law smiled at me. It is late. Your dad has the summit the day after tomorrow. We came to Lakehurst on short notice, so we'll stay here a few days. They usually lived nearby in Belmont. I put on a happy face. That's great. I haven't seen you or Dad in ages. I'll take you out for good food and help you relax. After reminding Chloe and me, all right, you two get some sleep. She finally left. In my past life, I'd misunderstood something. I thought Chloe did whatever she wanted and ignored her family. I focused only on her, thinking no one else mattered if she loved me. Only after she fought for her family's approval of Noah did I realize family mattered deeply to her. If I'd been close to her parents, maybe I wouldn't have lost. I closed the door and exhaled. Chloe and I stared at each other, facing a problem. Do you take the bed? Or do I? Chloe casually lay down and answered, don't bother. You think sleeping together would lead to anything? Chloe truly had a gift for twisting the knife. I said nothing and lay on the other side. Fine. It was only our second time sharing a bed. The first was our wedding night, and she never touched me. We lay back to back as if the other didn't exist. After a while, I spoke. Can you give me Audrey's number? Chloe said nothing. I turned toward the back of her head. Was she asleep? I added, I want to chew her out. Already did, Chloe replied coldly. And no, fine. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep. Low thunder rumbled outside. A storm was coming. A thunderclap hit. I yanked the blanket over my head. Even the thunder couldn't drown out her furious voice. Ethan. I peeked out at Chloe's furious face. Sorry. Thunder scares me. Chloe had no sympathy. She snatched the blanket back. Not my problem. Another earth-shaking thunderclap exploded. I shot straight into her arms. The divorce could wait. Surviving the storm came first. Chloe's body stiffened in disbelief. Who could accept spending a stormy night, holding a man as skinny as a stick? Even I could feel how bony I was. Chloe pried my arms off, looking disgusted. Don't touch me. I hid my shame and bitterness. Then don't steal my blanket. Chloe kicked it over to me. She got another blanket and slept on the floor. Wrapped like a cocoon. I stared at Chloe on the floor. If Noah were afraid of thunder, she'd pull him so close they became one. That night, I dreamed of my past life again. The despair and resentment were seared into me. By morning, Chloe was gone from the floor. I dressed and went downstairs. Linda cooked while the others cleaned. My mother-in-law trimmed plants damaged by the storm. My father-in-law was doing Tai Chi. I went out and greeted them. Mom, Dad, you're up early. My mother-in-law smiled. At our age, we don't sleep much. Exercise helps. I walked over and naturally linked arms with her. Ignoring her surprise, I started chatting. Mom, a friend of mine owns a jewelry store. He recently acquired a pair of violet jadeite bangles. They're beautiful, but he needs cash. I know you collect jadeite, so I bought them. I'll pick them up and bring them to you. My mother-in-law loved collecting rare jadeite. She even had a dedicated collection room. I was playing to her interests, but not to win Chloe back. I spitefully wanted Chloe and Noah's romance to face more obstacles. A little revenge. Her eyes lit up. Violet jadeite bangles? Wonderful. Let me see them first. If they're right, I'll pay you. I smiled. I already bought them. We're family. Don't talk about money. I'll bring them to you in a couple of days. I really did own a pair of violet jadeite bangles. Mom gave them to me 2 years ago. They were worth 7 figures. If they made my mother-in-law like me more, and judge Noah more harshly, it was worth it. She patted my hand warmly. I know you're thoughtful, but I can't let you pay for them. I'll reimburse you. I shook my head. Please don't say that. We can't always be here for you. Money is the least we can give. As long as you and Dad are happy and healthy, any price is worth it. My in-laws exchanged a puzzled look. I'd never spoken like this in 5 years of marriage. My father-in-law stopped and brushed off his sleeve. Ethan, your thoughtfulness is enough. Your mom and I only have one wish. We want grandchildren soon, so get moving. That seemed to remind my mother-in-law of something. She pulled me aside and spoke awkwardly. Ethan, have you two been tested? Did that girl ruin her health fooling around? My heart jumped. For once, my mother-in-law was amazing. She suspected her own daughter before her son-in-law. I was touched, but I had to lie. Don't worry, Mom. We've both been tested. We're fine. She's just busy and rarely home, so it's taking longer. My mother-in-law warned me. Your dad and I see those scandals. We've scolded her plenty. But you're her husband. You need to keep an eye on her. I knew I could never control her, and she'd soon fall for another man. But faced with her sincere gaze, I nodded. After chatting, I had breakfast with my in-laws. I learned Chloe had left early. I didn't care. My attitude toward her was simple, whatever. After breakfast, I drove straight to the hospital to confront Audrey. Audrey had just returned from rounds. When I cornered her with a fake smile, Dr. Sterling, got a few minutes? Audrey's refined face showed no smile. No. I sat beside her and started laying into her. You're too guilty to face me, aren't you? I asked you to talk Chloe into a divorce. Instead, you sent my in-laws to Crescent Ridge Estates. Since when were you so noble, Dr. Sterling? You'd rather tear down 10 temples than break up one marriage? Audrey glanced at me, her tone flat. Your in-laws asked how things were between you and Chloe. I simply said you wanted a divorce. I almost caused a scene right there in the hospital. Did she trade all her people's skills for that face? Of all our problems, she only mentioned the divorce. What were my in-laws supposed to think of me? As I rubbed my forehead in anger, a nurse called her away. I was left alone in the office. Then I spotted her travel mug. I fished a cigarette butt from the trash and dropped it in. Maybe it'd poison her. After cursing her in my head, I left the hospital in a foul mood. With no job and nowhere to go, I wandered around, then went home. It was lunchtime and the food smelled incredible. Chloe sat with her parents in the living room. The mood was grim. My mother-in-law finally smiled when she saw me. Ethan, you're back. I nodded and sat beside her. The moment I sat down, she grabbed my hand and laid into Chloe. Chloe, your father and I are making this clear today. If you're linked to another sleazy man, don't call yourself my daughter. I stared at my in-laws in shock. Mom, Dad, what's going on? My mother-in-law sighed. Ethan, I know you've been wronged in this marriage. Chloe hasn't acted responsibly at all. She's flirted with men everywhere. Only you could put up with her. Give her one more chance. We'll keep her in line together. Audrey only said I wanted a divorce. Was that enough to panic them? In my past life, I never knew they valued me this much. By the time Chloe brought Noah home, she was dead set on divorce. Nothing could change her mind. Chloe sat across from me, her face and eyes ice cold. She had to think I'd planned all this. Even last night's divorce papers wouldn't change her mind. I spoke considerately. Mom, Dad, don't worry. Most of those rumors about Chloe are fake. It's just business networking. I trust her. My father-in-law spoke up. Ethan, you're a sensible young man. Trust and understanding are good. But we've seen how she's treated you. Don't be too good to her. Women can be contrary. The better you treat her, the more she takes you for granted. People only value what they can't have or have lost. My mother-in-law agreed with him. They earnestly taught me how to handle my wife. I was touched and amused. Chloe, however, looked furious. I nodded obediently. I understand, Mom and Dad. Linda walked over. Sir, lunch is ready. My mother-in-law glanced at Linda and complimented her. Your cooking smells wonderful. I gave a knowing smile. Linda's a great cook. I've already gained 2 pounds. Mom, you should try more of her cooking. My mother-in-law talked as we headed to the dining room. I'm going back in 2 days. When would I get the chance? But you are too thin. You could stand to gain more. I wanted to tell her she'd have plenty of chances later. Despite the rare family meal, Chloe stayed ice cold. I laughed and chatted with my in-laws, keeping things warm. Suddenly, Chloe's phone chimed. She checked it, then glanced at me. I was confused but ignored it. After lunch, she found me in the bedroom. She showed me a photo. Did you put this in there? Audrey had sent Chloe the photo and an accusation. The cigarette butt floating in her tea looked completely out of place. I admitted it. Yeah, I did it. She shouldn't have ratted me out. Chloe put away her phone and studied me through narrowed eyes. Ethan, have you been possessed lately? What are you trying to do? I used to have almost no contact with her friends. Now I was dropping cigarette butts into Audrey's mug. I calmly explained. I'm not possessed. I just woke up. Chloe, I've given you 10 years of my youth and love. If you'll never love me or return my feelings, what's wrong with living my own life? I won't keep suppressing and forcing myself. Chloe pressed harder, her eyes icy. If loving me felt so forced and miserable, why didn't you quit sooner? I snapped. I'll give up whenever I damn well please. The air froze. She stared at me as if I were a stranger. Our standoff ended when she walked out. I exhaled and collapsed onto the bed, feeling hollow. That afternoon, I headed out right after Chloe left. Noah was working every other time I came. But the night I invited Audrey, he was off. The timing was strange. I looked at him. Black coffee again. Ethan? Noah was efficient at work and treated every customer well. His smile was bright and easy. I smiled. No. Can you recommend something sweet? Noah cheerfully made a recommendation. Sure. The cappuccino and macchiato are both good. They'll make you feel sweet inside. Like being in love. After a moment, I ordered a macchiato. The macchiato was certainly sweet. But it didn't taste like love to me. I was more like bitter black coffee. Noah was the sweet macchiato. I kept glancing at him, calculating the day after tomorrow, when he would meet Chloe. The summit started at 9:30 a.m. As a temporary greeter, Noah would be waiting outside early. Chloe would see him at the entrance, and Cupid's arrow would strike. While Noah cleared a table, I asked, Noah, want another part-time job? I can get you a tutoring job. Starts tomorrow and pays well. Noah gave me a grateful smile but turned me down. Thanks for thinking of me, Ethan, but school starts in a few days. After my greeter shift the day after tomorrow, I have to report back. I froze. School was about to start. I was too late. If I'd asked a few days earlier, maybe I could have kept Noah from appearing before Chloe. But I quickly accepted it. Given Chloe and Noah's bond, I could stop one meeting but not the next two. I took another sip and smiled. No problem. It just came to mind. So you're quitting here too? Noah looked around, seemingly reluctant to leave. Yeah. I won't have time once school starts. Then he grinned playfully. I'll miss you, Ethan. I felt awkward. If Noah knew everything, he'd probably avoid me like the plague. Another customer came in, and Noah went to greet them. I exhaled, paid, and left. I probably wouldn't need to visit this budget cafe again. The gears of fate had begun to turn. I'd watch everything unfold again as an outsider. That wouldn't be any easier than last time. Audrey's situation had shown me the butterfly effect was powerful. Things would definitely change, and I'd have to face them. For the next 2 days with my in-laws here, Chloe came home for lunch and dinner and shared my bed. Unlike her calm composure, I grew more anxious. I quietly asked, what time are you going to the summit tomorrow? Chloe lay beside me with her eyes closed. Hey, I'm curious. Can you bring a spouse? I wanted to witness that legendary moment myself. After all, in my past life, Chloe and Noah's love story went viral for ages. Chloe glanced sideways at me. Mockery flickered in her dark eyes. Spouse? You? I blinked. Legally, yes. Business summits like this allowed spouses or assistants. Many executives attended as couples. Plus, given Dad's position, my attendance would make sense. Chloe disagreed. She scoffed. Dream on. I rolled over and stared at her profile. Her profile was exquisitely defined, especially around her nose and brow. She was almost too perfect. A beautiful, wealthy woman like her would ultimately be won over by an ordinary man. It was like Cinderella and the prince, with the genders reversed. I threatened her. If you won't take me, I'll ask your dad. He'd wonder why she wasn't taking me. Then he'd question how she treated me. Sure enough, it worked. But Chloe's glare was pure poison. Get up at 8 tomorrow. I won't wait 1 minute. I beamed at her. Great. I'll be up by 7:30. I even had a plan. I'd learn every detail of Chloe and Noah's story. After our divorce, I could publish a book as her ex-husband. I'd tell their whole love story. People would eat it up. That hook alone would make me a fortune. It was a great deal. The next morning, I got up on time. Looking sharp and polished, I left with Chloe. At our destination, I gazed at the grand Lakehurst Civic Hall. The doors were open with handsome greeters on both sides. Noah stood among them, easily outshining the rest. Chloe unbuckled and got out, clearly not noticing Noah yet. I suddenly said, go ahead. I'll sit here a minute. In my past life, Noah knew Chloe was married but never met me. We'd never spoken either. This time, he shouldn't know yet about my relationship with Chloe. She couldn't care less what I did. She got out and left. Through the window, I watched her walk toward the entrance. Finally, she reached Noah. Her back was to me, so I couldn't see her expression. I only saw her steps falter. She seemed to study the young, handsome man before her. At that moment, my heart crashed into the abyss. It hurt, but the outcome was settled. In front of so many people, no matter how moved Chloe was, she wouldn't act openly. The setting wasn't right, so she quickly went inside. Once she disappeared, I finally got out. I walked into Lakehurst Civic Hall alone. When Noah saw me, surprise crossed his face, but he quickly recovered. He quietly greeted me. Ethan. I smiled but said nothing and went to find my seat. Chloe was already seated in the front row. The summit's venue manager sat beside her. They were talking, and my seat was beside Chloe. As I sat down, I heard the manager finish saying, "I'll send you his number shortly." Then he gave me an awkward look. He quickly got up and left. I remarked, "He reads a room better than Dylan." Chloe glanced at me. She looked even more annoyed than usual. Noah was probably all she could think about now. She didn't want to hear me, so of course I kept talking. Dylan sat beside me forever last time and never recognized me. He called me a figurehead. Chloe replied indifferently, "Makes sense." I looked at her curiously. His bad judgment makes sense, or me being a figurehead? Chloe fell silent and watched Noah approach. Her eyes shone in a way I'd never seen, though I knew that look. It was how I'd looked when I first saw Chloe. Noah only had eyes for me. He never even looked at Chloe. That felt pretty good. I was starting to believe Noah truly loved Sophie. His rejection of Chloe in my past life had been sincere. Otherwise, how could he miss the woman staring at him so intensely? Noah was handing out headsets. He respectfully set mine down and flashed me a bright smile. Then he gave Chloe the same smile. Chloe actually smiled back. "Thank you." That alone showed Noah already meant something different to her. Noah looked at Chloe again, clearly struck by her beauty. No man could deny the beauty of that face. The shy young man blushed over one simple thank you. Then I wondered if he'd ignored Chloe earlier, because he feared falling for her. The moment quickly passed. The summit began, focusing on joint development between Lakehurst and Belmont, and practical plans for surrounding areas. Lakehurst had grown fast, and most markets were nearly saturated. It needed to expand. I didn't understand much of it. Aside from hearing Dad, Chloe, and my father-in-law discuss it, I spent the rest of the time lost in thought. After the summit, Dad found me. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" I answered honestly. I was bored at home. Dad knew I wasn't cut out for business or politics. Events like this bored me to death. So he was shocked to see me. Dad glanced at Chloe in the distance. "You came with Chloe, right?" She chatted with others, every move radiating authority. Compared with the other business leaders, Chloe was very young. Yet she was already one of the best. I nodded. Dad spoke earnestly. "Good. You're her husband. You should attend some events. Remind people of your position." Then my father-in-law approached. "Richard, it's been too long." "Victor, it's been over 6 months." Dad shook his hand, and the two men began chatting warmly. I slipped away and started looking for Noah. He was probably getting paid and preparing to leave. I searched the entire hall and found Noah by the back entrance. He'd been paid and was waiting for a rideshare. When he saw me, he called out happily, "Ethan." I walked over and casually struck up a conversation. "So this is where your greeter job was?" Noah warmly invited me along. "Yeah. My last summer job. I'm celebrating with Sophie over a big meal. Want to join us?" I nodded without hesitation. "But would I be interrupting your date?" Noah blushed. "It's not a date. We're just eating. You won't interrupt anything. Women must love shy men who blush like that." He stood tall and fresh, full of youthful energy. Since Noah didn't mind, I shamelessly tagged along. Sophie was waiting at the barbecue restaurant. When she saw me, she visibly panicked and quickly stood up. "Ethan." Noah put an arm around my shoulder. "Sophie, I ran into Ethan, so I invited him to barbecue. It's my treat today." I smiled awkwardly. "Sorry, Sophie. I'm crashing your date." Sophie shook her head frantically. "No, not at all. Please sit." Noah and I sat together with Sophie across from us. After we ordered, charcoal was placed in the tabletop grill. A round grate sat above it with ingredients spread across the table. After learning I was also a Hartwell alumnus, Noah grew excited. He eagerly talked my ear off about Hartwell. Sophie grilled pork belly for us. She kept giving Noah affectionate looks, and occasionally glanced at me with mixed feelings. As we enjoyed ourselves, Noah's phone chimed. He casually checked it. It was a text. I glanced over. The number was a string of 8s. It had to be Chloe. She'd already made her move. Noah's expression shifted when he read it. He looked confused and surprised. He didn't reply. He simply put the phone down. Sophie smiled at him. "Who was that, Noah?" Noah looked down at his pork, sounding slightly guilty. "Just a random sales text." I gave Sophie a pitying look. The poor girl kept happily grilling. She had no idea a predator in designer clothes was reaching for her beloved boyfriend. For reasons I couldn't explain, I stood and looked at them. "I'm going to the restroom." In the restroom, I sent Sophie a message. "Didn't like the silver Rolls-Royce? Why didn't you take it? You left the keys by my front door. Good thing security there is excellent. Otherwise, the car could have been stolen." After sending it, I straightened my clothes. Then I returned to the table. Sophie wouldn't look at me and kept grilling. I looked exactly like a rich playboy trying to buy someone's affection. Noah grew distracted too. When Chloe got no reply, she called him directly, making him jump. He saw the caller. hurriedly declined, then sent a quick text. I couldn't read it, so I pretended not to know and kindly advised, Noah, you can just block spam calls like that. Noah placed his phone face down. Yeah, I know. Whatever Noah wrote, Chloe finally stopped bothering him. But this calm was temporary. Once Chloe set her sights on you, even across the Milky Way, she'd build a bridge and drag you back. We finished the barbecue, each lost in our own thoughts. Afterward, Sophie offered to drive Noah and me home. I firmly declined. Just take Noah. I'll get a cab. Sophie still couldn't meet my eyes. Okay, Ethan. Be safe. I hailed a cab. Don't worry. Once Sophie and Noah drove off, I called Luke to pick me up. 15 minutes later, Luke arrived. I sighed at his stoic, loyal face. Luke, if only Chloe came whenever I called, like you. Luke's eyes flickered. Sir, should I call Miss Sinclair now? I rubbed my forehead. Just drive. Don't talk. Luke nodded and drove me back to Crescent Ridge Estates. I wondered if my in-laws were still there, or if Chloe had gone home. It was late, but Crescent Ridge Estates was brightly lit. I sent Luke home when we arrived. My in-laws were there. Chloe wasn't. Seeing me alone, my mother-in-law asked, Ethan, where's Chloe? Didn't she come with you? I looked surprised. I ran into a friend after the summit, so we had dinner. I thought Chloe came home. If I was right, Chloe wouldn't be back tonight. She had new prey. Her mind was already on someone else. My father-in-law scowled. They hadn't even returned to Belmont yet, and Chloe was already staying out all night. If they weren't here, she'd treat home like a hotel. He waved angrily. Call her. If she won't answer, call every one of her friends. My mother-in-law gave me a look, so I handed her my phone. I wanted no part of a job that would get me yelled at. Her mother could handle it. Chloe would never curse her out. I wasn't close to Chloe's friends, but I had their numbers except Audrey's. My mother-in-law went through my contacts, calling on speaker. After 4 or 5 calls, Madison answered. Chloe, your husband's calling. Chloe sounded utterly annoyed. I'm not answering. My in-laws and I heard every word. Others could be heard laughing and egging her on. To them, I was just Chloe's bitter, unwanted husband. Madison lowered her voice. It's your mom. The laughter stopped instantly, and Chloe took the phone. My mother-in-law went full tiger mom. Chloe Sinclair, where are you? Why didn't you come home for dinner? You party with playboys every day. Are you trying to ruin yourself? Chloe answered helplessly. I'm just hanging out with friends. I'll be home soon. My mother-in-law shouted back. Ethan went out with friends too. And he's already home. You have 30 minutes. Get home now. Then she hung up. She'd heard a man laughing in the background. She gave me a conflicted look. Ethan, set her straight when she gets back. She's completely out of line. Half an hour later, Chloe came home seething. I just finished dinner and was wiping my mouth. Her murderous glare sent a chill through me. She was too full of rage to need food. She tossed her coat on the couch and went upstairs. Her parents didn't care whether she'd eaten. They stayed on the couch watching TV. I couldn't exactly join them. I couldn't sit through that cheesy war drama, so I reluctantly went upstairs. Water rushed in the bathroom. Chloe's phone lay on the bed. I was tempted to look through it. Had she contacted Noah again after we parted? I picked it up, but it needed facial recognition. Just as I felt disappointed, a text notification appeared. I could see the beginning. It had to be Noah's reply. I'm sorry, Ms. Sinclair. I have a girlfriend, and I heard your... The rest was hidden without unlocking it. Chloe's voice suddenly rang out. What are you doing? The next second, she snatched the phone away. She warned me coldly. Don't touch my phone again. She unlocked it and read the new message. Her face darkened further. A woman like her could have any man with a curl of her finger. Men willing to divorce for her could fill a stadium. Yet Noah had rejected her. Her pride had never taken a hit like this. Her charm itself had been challenged. I deliberately asked, who's he? Chloe shot me an irritated look. None of your business. I wasn't angry. I was proud of how clever I'd been. Let me guess. He said he heard you're married and hopes you'll stay faithful instead of cheating, right? I knew Noah's personality. He'd definitely give her a speech about doing the right thing. Chloe sat on the bed and asked coldly, so? I immediately pulled out a revised divorce agreement. This time, I asked for a 3% stake in Sinclair Holdings. Chloe actually laughed after reading it. 3%? Ethan, that's quite an appetite. Sinclair Holdings had countless shareholders, and many owned less than 3%. I hesitated. How could I gently tell Chloe that if she refused now, she'd offer even more later? She'd offered 10% last time. I kindly reminded her, he has a problem with you being married. Pay the price and divorce me. Then you can chase him without anything holding you back. Chloe raised a mocking brow. You think he's worth it? I choked again. Wasn't he? You'd eventually sacrifice everything for him. Chloe probably didn't understand her true feelings yet. She saw Noah as just another fling, someone she'd tire of once she had him. That was why she could say this. I sighed. tore up the agreement and tossed it out. Apparently, I needed to wait, then draft one asking for 10%. Chloe coldly watched my every move. Slightly disappointed, I went to shower. When I came out, Chloe was on the balcony, on the phone with a cigarette between her fingers. The night breeze carried the smoke inside, making me cough. She glanced back at me and hung up. She dropped the cigarette and casually crushed it. I adjusted my clothes and said pointedly, "Can't you use a trash can? It makes Linda's job harder." I relied on her more than the others. She handled every meal and brewed my medicine. She also cleaned the primary bedroom. I paid her more, and she was deeply grateful. Chloe scoffed. "Isn't housework what we hired them for? If it's too hard, she can find another job." I shook my head. She'd regret saying that one day. Chloe lay down on the bed. My phone rang. It was Sophie. Surprised, I answered and heard her desperate voice. "Ethan, help me. Someone's beating me." My expression hardened. "Where are you?" "The Grand Meridian parking garage," Sophie answered. I heard more blows and her cries of pain. The call disconnected. I changed without another word. As I grabbed my keys to leave, Chloe suddenly demanded, "Where are you going?" I casually lied. "Ryan needs me for something." By the time I reached the Grand Meridian parking garage, Sophie was badly hurt. 3 or 4 heavy-set women in expensive clothes stood nearby. They laughed when I arrived. "This is the backup you called, little girl?" I walked over and helped Sophie up. Her face was bruised and swollen. She looked awful. Sophie quietly explained what happened. "Ethan, I'm working here as a valet. I accidentally scratched their car. I offered to pay, but they demanded 100 grand. I don't have that." I frowned. "Which car?" "Let me see." Sophie pointed nearby. A white sedan sat there. My brows tightened. The whole car was barely worth 30 grand. And they wanted 15 grand for a scratch? What a scam. The women hurled filthy remarks at me. "Well, pretty boy, figure out how you'll pay us. You're so scrawny, one night with you wouldn't cover it." Hearing that, Sophie forced herself to step forward. She pointed a bloody finger at them. "Watch your mouths. If you want, beat me to death." I was surprised. Were all college girls this gutsy? I thought she'd called me just to hide behind me and helplessly wait for me to fix everything. Sophie had clearly enraged them. I stepped in front of her and glared. "Give me 3 minutes." I made a call. This was the Grand Meridian's property. Sophie worked for the hotel. Management should have stepped in. Yet no one from the hotel had appeared. One woman sneered. "Calling backup, pretty boy? The 3 of us are well connected in Lakehurst. You bring 10 people, we'll bring 100. Too bad I'd never heard of them. They were just trash." I hung up with a smile. In under 3 minutes, the Grand Meridian's general manager appeared. He greeted me politely. "Mr. Hayes, what brings you here?" I looked at him coolly. "My friend works here, and these women beat her. You know how to handle this?" Marcus immediately turned toward the 3 women. "What? Someone dared attack Mr. Hayes's friend? Was it you?" The women froze. The Grand Meridian was a 5-star hotel, and one of Lakehurst's largest. They knew they couldn't cross it. Power was useful. Even bullies had to bow to it. The women who'd been so aggressive didn't even know who I was, but Marcus's presence alone made them apologize respectfully. They also paid Sophie's medical expenses. As they tried to slink away, I spoke again. "Wait." I turned to Sophie. "Slap each of them." Sophie froze. "Ethan." Fear and hesitation showed through her bloodied eyes. Getting medical compensation was already more than she'd expected. She'd never considered fighting back. I pulled her over to them. "What are you afraid of? Watch and learn." I slapped one woman hard. Then I did the same to the other 2. Their eyes burned with rage, but they didn't dare fight back. My palm went numb and I grew impatient. "Get lost." The garage quickly fell quiet. Marcus invited me in for tea. I had no interest in late-night tea with a stranger, so I declined. Sophie was completely stunned. From the moment I started slapping them, she hadn't seemed to recover. I naturally took her hand. "Come on. I'll take you to the hospital." I led her outside, where my car was parked. Sophie hurriedly said, "Ethan, I can go by myself." I glared at her. "Don't argue." On the way to the hospital, Sophie told me her father had injured his leg 2 days ago and was hospitalized, so she wanted extra shifts before school to cover her tuition. She called me because her gut said I could help. Suddenly, I understood why Noah eventually fell for Chloe. When you're trapped in a problem you can't solve, and someone fixes it with a wave and a few words, who wouldn't fall for them? No one chooses where they're born, but they can choose a shortcut. After staying while Sophie's wounds were treated, I dragged my exhausted body home. Staying up this late was brutal. Chloe was asleep on her side. After taking a shower, I slipped under the covers, ready for a good night's sleep. Chloe suddenly spoke, her voice hoarse. "Have fun?" My eyes snapped open. "Did I wake you?" "Hang in there 2 more days. Once your parents leave, this won't happen." Chloe was furious. "Ethan, Don't test my patience. That meant she was in a terrible mood. I felt helpless. What did I do? I'm dead tired. And now I have to solve a riddle? Chloe turned toward me, her eyes blazing. You went out fooling around while my parents were here? Do you have a death wish? We stared at each other for several seconds. Suddenly, I felt guilty. Had she learned I hadn't met Ryan? Fair enough. Even someone as wild as Chloe had restrained herself these 2 days. Yet I'd been even bolder. I defended a college girl at midnight, then stayed through her treatment. I immediately backed down. Fine, I got it. No posting online. And no going out while your parents are here. I'll remember. I tried to go back to sleep. But Chloe suddenly moved closer for some reason. Her eyes were testing me. I pushed her away, my face turning cold. You're testing me again. The words hit like ice water, extinguishing most of her emotion. She stared at me for a few seconds. Then she lay back down, quick and cold. It was as if the moment had never happened. I silently turned away, and we slept back to back. Endless sadness filled me. Once, I dreamed of having children with her and living a simple, happy life. Now I only wanted her to divorce me so we could go our separate ways. Since I hadn't slept until dawn, I slept until noon. When I woke, I found several messages. One was from my mother-in-law. They'd returned to Belmont unexpectedly. Another was from Mason. He asked if I wanted a concert gig. The last was from an unknown number, and its message stunned me. It was a photo of me leading Sophie out of the garage last night. From that angle, we looked like a couple, though Sophie looked battered and pitiful. I thought for a full minute. I considered every possibility. Had paparazzi photographed me? Or had one of those women's friends taken it? Despite my father's and wife's status, I kept a low profile, especially after marrying Chloe. Even Ryan could barely get me out. Why would paparazzi care? I couldn't think of a reasonable explanation. I called the number, but they immediately hung up. So I sent a text. Who is this? Can you give me a name? If that photo got out, even though Sophie and I had done nothing, the public would still get the wrong idea. I wanted privacy, not a viral scandal. The reply came quickly. Audrey Sterling. I nearly coughed up blood. She'd been in the garage last night and secretly photographed Sophie and me. She'd already suspected us at the hospital. Now nothing I said could clear my name. I immediately replied, that's me in the photo, but you misunderstood. Let me buy you dinner and explain what happened. Audrey went silent, as if the number were disconnected. Unable to wait, I called again. This time, she answered and readily agreed. Pick a place and time, then text me. After hanging up, I chose the Grand Meridian. I'd explain the misunderstanding where it happened. Audrey replied, okay. I spent most of the day feeling uneasy. At 7, I dressed and went to the hotel. I booked the Imperial Room and ordered 18 dishes. Surely 18 dishes would give me time to convince her. Marcus handed me a flash drive. Mr. Hayes, here's the security footage you requested. It contains last night's garage recording. I took it with a faint smile. Thank you. A while later, Audrey finally arrived. She looked elegant and aloof. She sat across from me and got straight to the point. Start explaining. I gave her what I thought was a calm smile. Relax. We can talk while we eat. Audrey pressed sharply. What's your relationship with Sophie? I answered quietly. We're friends. We met through an accident. I know her boyfriend too. Audrey's eyes shifted. She has a boyfriend? I nodded. But she won't for much longer. You'll be fighting Chloe for him too. I looked at the Ice Queen before me and thought of Chloe's stunning beauty. Two gorgeous women who could attract anyone would eventually turn on each other over a roadside dandelion. I could barely imagine it. I connected the flash drive to my phone and set it before her. Watch this. This angle shows me entering the garage and every interaction with Sophie. It also has the audio. Nothing happened between us. Whether that stayed true later was another matter. From the angle of Audrey's photo, she couldn't have seen me confront those women. She must have taken it after I'd led Sophie some distance away. The image even had motion blur. Audrey took the phone and watched carefully. I craned my neck slightly, watching her reaction. When she saw me slap the women, her brow lifted, and amusement flickered in her eyes. She returned the phone. You're pretty arrogant. I gave a dry laugh and put it away. I couldn't let them walk all over me. I'm Chloe Sinclair's husband, after all. And my father has some influence. Audrey asked again, does Chloe know about Sophie? She clearly feared her best friend was being cheated on. I only knew Chloe and Audrey had grown up together. Of all Chloe's friends, Audrey was the closest. But I barely knew her, so I never understood why. Now I did. Audrey worried about Chloe's marriage, like her life depended on it. Yet these best friends would turn on each other over a man, and become bitter enemies. I found it sad and shook my head. No, Sophie's not anyone important. It doesn't matter if Chloe knows about her. Audrey sipped her water without answering. Couldn't tell if she believed me. Either way, she didn't speak to me again. She tried 2 of 18 dishes, then left. What a waste. As the dishes filled the table, I had the server box them up. Then I headed home with several bags of food. On the drive back, an address suddenly came to mind. It was the address on Linda's file. The Bennetts were locals living near the Lakehurst, Belmont border district. It was far from downtown and housing was cheap. Noah's family was still better off than Sophie's. My in-laws had returned to Belmont today. With them gone, Chloe would stop at nothing to get close to Noah. Finding his records was easy for her. She had to know his address. Noah had no shifts, and school hadn't started yet. He was probably home resting. On impulse, I turned around. I drove toward Millstone Courts, an old complex outside Lakehurst. Built for factory workers decades ago, it stood beside an abandoned chemical plant. Linda had worked at the plant and received an apartment here. The plant closed 10 years ago. Sinclair Holdings bought it and left it vacant. There was no redevelopment plan yet, but the nearby buildings would be demolished once there was. Capitalists squeezed every penny, especially someone as calculating as Chloe. Her relocation offer would meet the minimum and not a cent more. But no one expected Noah to suddenly turn her into a generous philanthropist. Linda met with her as the resident's representative. Everyone expected conflict, but Chloe was surprisingly polite. She even raised the payouts, giving every household a fortune. That left Noah both angry and touched. Angry because she'd caused the problem, and touched because she'd done so much for him. I sat in my car, staring up at the lit windows. My thoughts wandered. In my past life, when the payouts changed, I had Dad look into it and learned a few details. I hadn't known Chloe did it all for a man. By then, she'd been chasing Noah for 6 months. She'd gone that far in 6 months. I didn't know the Bennett's unit, so I slowly circled the complex. With no gate or security, it was easy. After one lap, I spotted a silver Rolls-Royce. Chloe leaned against it, head lowered as she lit a cigarette. A luxury car, a beautiful woman, night, and smoke. It looked cinematic. I put myself in Noah's shoes. This untouchable woman was chasing me, throwing money around and clearing every obstacle like my knight. She only had eyes for me, though looks were all I had. Suddenly, I got it. I couldn't resist that either. Noah was innocent, not stupid. Following Chloe's gaze, I found his window. Only the 1st and 5th floors were lit. I called Chloe. She answered in her usual cold tone. Nothing. Just seeing if you'd pick up. I watched her through my window. As expected, she hung up. I was almost flattered. While gazing up at another man's window and plotting how to win him, she still had enough attention left to answer her bitter husband's call. After marveling at that, I drove away. When I got home, the staff had just finished cleaning. Linda was the last one wrapping up. She seemed to be waiting for me. Sir. Linda looked nervous when she saw me. I set the food on the table. What's wrong? Linda? Linda looked at me anxiously. While cleaning your bedroom today, I accidentally broke a bottle of aftershave. Tell me the price. I'll pay you back. Which one? She quickly showed me the wrapped shards. It was Kingsley Grooming Aftershave. One bottle cost nearly $9 grand. Linda's monthly pay couldn't replace it. Seeing her so humble stirred something strange in me. This ordinary woman would one day be Chloe's mother-in-law. Now she worked herself ragged for a few grand. Later, she'd rise straight into high society just because she'd given birth to a handsome son. The Hayeses had 3 generations in politics, the Sinclairs 3 in business. Our wealth and status had been built over generations. Forget it. The bottle was already over half empty. Just be more careful next time. A strange exhaustion came over me. Remembering Chloe gazing up at that window made the whole world feel unreal. Linda thanked me repeatedly, grateful and ashamed. Without a word, I went upstairs to rest. After showering, I lay in bed with a face mask and used my phone. The bedroom door clicked open. Chloe was back. As she approached, I muttered, "Your parents left. We don't need to pretend anymore." I know. Chloe took out pajamas and left. I'd really gotten ahead of myself. I sighed and prepared to sleep. Mason's call jolted me awake. Still groggy, I answered. "What's up, Mason?" "A paid gig needs a cellist. You interested?" My sleepiness vanished. "Absolutely. I'd do it for free." I wasn't after money. I wanted purpose and a fresh start toward my old dream. Mason chuckled. "Great. I'll send the time and place. Don't be late." "Got it." After we hung up, Mason's message came through. The venue was Hartwell Concert Hall. It was 3 days away on the first day of school. This performance was actually organized by the Hartwell University School of Music. Only its alumni could perform. It was meant to welcome the freshmen and introduce them to the beauty of music as their first college lesson. I hadn't returned to Hartwell since graduating. I'd never revisited or donated anything. None of it. I spent every day orbiting Chloe. Maybe this was a new beginning. I was actually excited. To avoid embarrassing my alma mater, I began 3 days of intense practice. Chloe stayed out every night anyway, so I played from morning to night. I practically took root in the music room. I lost myself in the music. Those 3 days felt deeply fulfilling. Through every piece, memories of my past life kept returning. They gave my playing a new depth. That night, after a relaxing shower, I called Sophie. Ethan? It was loud on her end, like she was at a bar. Sophie, where are you? I spoke like a concerned older brother. School starts tomorrow. Why are you at a bar? Her voice was drowned out by the music. I'm working, Ethan. I can't hear you. Talk later. I hung up and texted her. Still short on tuition? Didn't you have some medical compensation left? Sophie replied fairly quickly. My dad's medical bills were short, so I gave it to him. Without another word, I sent her 20 grand. I knew what it took to win a girl over. Besides, an expert like Chloe had personally shown me how. A few minutes later, Sophie called in a panic. Ethan, why did you send me money? I'll earn enough for tuition myself. You're a student. You should focus on school. What if you start failing classes? Lying in bed. I answered lazily, listen to me. Hartwell is a great school. Don't waste all your time working endless shifts. Study hard, and you'll have a bright future. Pay me back after you graduate and get a job. Sophie seemed to choke up. A pang of guilt hit me. Was I being too manipulative? Taking advantage of someone so innocent? Sophie thought I was being kind. In truth, I was a wolf pretending to be harmless. For someone from her background to get into Hartwell and survive in Lakehurst, she had to work far harder than most. Setting Noah aside, I genuinely admired people who fought for themselves. Enough. Tell me whenever you need money. Think of it as my sponsorship. Pay me back after you graduate and find work. If it bothers you, add a little interest. This amount means nothing to me. It balanced the scales for me and helped Sophie. 2 birds, 1 stone. Sophie had to be out of options. Otherwise, she wouldn't be working the night before school. After we hung up, she accepted the money. Thank you, Ethan. I'll pay you back. I didn't reply. I tossed my phone aside and slept. I got up early the next morning and carefully dressed. I looked sharp, polished, and healthy. With my cello on my back, I had Luke drive me to Hartwell University. Returning to campus stirred countless emotions. Watching the energetic freshmen reminded me of my first day. I'd been overjoyed back then. Getting into the same school as Chloe felt better than winning the lottery. Following my memory, I reached Hartwell Concert Hall. Every music student passed through here. Floor-to-ceiling glass surrounded the hall. A tiered stage stood in the center. The alumni performing today numbered 52. We would perform the Blue Danube. The stage had already been arranged. Once seats were assigned, everyone took their place. There was no rehearsal. We relied entirely on chemistry. Everyone was a talented Hartwell graduate. Even after years in the working world, their skills remained sharp. As the beautiful melody began, I felt its passion and freedom. My whole body relaxed. More and more students gathered. The Hartwell Alumni Orchestra played with growing energy. We performed several classics in a row and didn't stop until noon. The thunderous applause felt incredible. Scanning the crowd, I spotted Sophie standing there. Her eyes sparkled as she watched me. She gave me a shy, friendly wave. I smiled and nodded. After the orchestra cleared out, I walked over. Sophie, Ethan, you play cello? That was amazing. Sophie praised me freely. Cello was my major. We walked and talked as I carried my cello. I instantly felt younger, like I'd been reborn into college. I think guys who play music are really attractive. Sophie's face had mostly healed, though marks remained near her eyes and lips. She looked so sweet saying that. I nearly got carried away. Had she fallen for me? Her next words crushed that fantasy. My Noah studies music too, but he's in vocals, not instruments. Just like Mason. Maybe he'll become a singer someday. I sighed inside. She really was devoted to Noah. Stealing her would be hard. But once Chloe shook Noah's loyalty, I'd have my opening. I wanted balance, not true love. Noah. Noah appeared ahead, youthful and far sunnier than me. Seeing Sophie with me, he showed no suspicion and greeted me excitedly. Ethan, what are you doing here? I smiled warmly. I was performing and happened to run into Sophie. I heard the performance was incredible. I made time for it but still missed it. Genuine disappointment covered Noah's handsome face. Sophie replied, no wonder I couldn't find you or reach your phone. Something uneasy flashed in Noah's eyes. He looked tired, and his smile seemed forced. My phone was on vibrate. The first day back is always hectic. I smiled at them. Wanna grab lunch? My treat. Noah shook his head. Thanks, Ethan, but I still need to set up my dorm. I'll just eat at the cafeteria. What about you, Sophie? Sophie followed her boyfriend without hesitation. Though I just lent her 20 grand. I'll eat there too. We'll treat you next time, Ethan. Sophie sounded sincere. Sure, I'll head home. I didn't push them. Luke was waiting, and once inside, I said, take me home. The car moved through the wide campus roads. I remembered chasing Chloe every day, always inventing reasons to run into her. Then a silver Lexus passed us. Unless I was mistaken, through the half-open window, I saw Chloe's profile. Why was she at Hartwell in another car? It was far more discreet than her usual luxury cars. The only explanation was Noah. She wanted to avoid attention. No wonder Noah had seemed uneasy. The fatigue in his eyes likely came from Chloe hounding him. No one would be comfortable with such an aggressive pursuit. Especially Noah, whose heart already belonged to someone. I wondered if she'd seen me, but with Noah on her mind, she probably noticed nothing else. I reached Crescent Ridge Estates at lunchtime. Linda greeted me respectfully. I looked at the delicious meal, but thinking of those two killed my appetite. I went upstairs without touching my food. "Sir, are you feeling sick? Should I call a doctor?" Linda followed, concerned. Since I'd forgiven her for the broken aftershave, she'd become even more attentive. If she weren't Noah's mother, I might have genuinely liked her. "No, I'm just not hungry. Let the others eat it," I answered irritably from bed. Linda said nothing more and quietly left. I fell asleep amid my tangled thoughts. If Ryan hadn't bombarded me with calls, I'd have slept until morning. Ryan's booming voice was full of excitement. "Holy crap, Heartthrob. Hartwell's cello Heartthrob is back." Still half asleep, I didn't understand. "What?" "I sent you a link. Open it right now." Ryan hung up. I checked my missed calls. Julian and Mason had called 3 times, but I'd missed them. A notification showed Ryan's message. Squinting, I opened the link. It was a video of today's concert. I was seated on the far left. I had no idea who filmed it. The camera kept zooming in on me like the filmer had a crush. The comments showered me with praise, calling me handsome and refined, and Hartwell's former music heartthrob. The praise thrilled me and wiped away my sleepiness. Who didn't love compliments? It was my first time enjoying this feeling. I'd gotten plenty of praise growing up, but mostly because of Dad's position. This was the first time people liked me purely for who I was. Right on cue, Ryan called again. "Well, didn't expect to go viral, did you?" I was thrilled. It really was unexpected. "Looks like I've still got it." "Of course. Chloe had you completely blinded back then. You had tons of admirers, yet you chose to be her pathetic lapdog." Ryan was still bitter about it. "That past is painful, but I've moved on. Looking back still left me wistful." "Then come celebrate with drinks." "I'm bored anyway. Let's turn you into an influencer." Ryan started mapping out our future. "Then we'll form a band. Mason sings, and the 3 of us back him up." Perfect. Ryan clearly had way too much free time. He was even dreaming up this nonsense. "Forget the future. Where are you? Let's eat, not drink." "I haven't eaten all day." My weight gain plan couldn't stop. Ryan agreed immediately. "Sure. I know a tea house with food better than any 5-star hotel. I'll send the address." I got the address, changed, and headed out. To my surprise, I ran into Dad outside the tea house. He was chatting with friends after finishing a meal. "Dad," I called out. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" Dad was surprised too, and his old friends all looked over. One of them recognized me. "Richard, isn't your son that handsome Hartwell cellist from today? He's all over the internet." Dad had clearly seen it. He looked proud but kept his tone restrained. "Viral? He majored in cello and hasn't practiced in years. And he's still that good after years away? Richard, your son's talented and handsome. He looks born for wealth and success." The flattery thrilled and embarrassed me. How did tall and skinny look wealthy? Then Ryan called to hurry me along. So I told Dad, "My friends are waiting. I'm heading inside." "Go ahead. I'm leaving too." Dad waved me off and I headed toward the tea house. I turned to tell Dad I'd visit in a few days. But then I saw a woman around 40 step out of his car. She stood beneath a bright streetlight. She was alluring yet sophisticated, bowing to Dad with subtle charm. Dad said something, got in the back, and she took the wheel. Hadn't his driver always been a man? When did he hire a woman? I was confused and strangely uneasy. "Ethan, why are you standing here? Working as a greeter?" Julian had just arrived and jokingly patted my shoulder. "I was waiting for you, your personal greeter." Touched? I snapped out of it and put an arm around Julian. "Come on." Ryan's blowing up my phone. Julian and I chatted as we reached the private room. Soft tea aromas and elegant piano music greeted us. It was instantly refreshing. Ryan posed with a teacup while Mason took pictures. He wanted to post them and tease his latest crush. I used to think he was a player who knew nothing about love. Now I thought he understood it better than anyone. "Ethan, Julian, you're here." Ryan dropped his cool guy pose. He grinned and waved us over. "Sit down. I already ordered. The food's unforgettable." Julian and I sat. "We trust you." The 4 of us gathered around the tea table. Paige, the pretty tea specialist, had a charm of her own. I ordered a naturally sweet black tea. Paige performed the full tea ceremony at our table. She softly explained its price, origin, and flavor. It was beautiful to watch. As we drank, the food arrived. Every dish tasted great. When a server briefly opened the door, I saw Chloe and Audrey walk past. Were they eating here too? I was curious for a moment, then let it go. What they did was none of my business. Soon we'd all go our separate ways. Mid-meal, Mason announced, "Guys, I have news. Emily and I are getting married." I nearly choked on my food. Ryan and Julian stared wide-eyed. Damn, you're really entering the marriage graveyard? For others, maybe. Ours will be a castle of love. Mason had complete faith in Emily. They certainly looked perfect together. The Dawsons had less status than the Coles, so she probably wouldn't mistreat him. You can't trust women, Mason. Don't let love blind you. Ryan gripped his shoulders. Wake up. Think it over for 6 more months. Mason knew we were worried. He laughed and pushed Ryan's hand away. You make marriage sound terrifying. I'll restore your faith in love. Ryan tried to keep arguing, but one look from me shut him up. Even close friends shouldn't interfere too much. I need the restroom. My stomach hurt, so I got up and headed right outside the room. As I passed another door, I heard Madison's voice. Chloe, did you finally meet your true love? I stopped to listen. Brielle chimed in with obvious delight. Too bad the guy wants nothing to do with you. Even Ms. Sinclair's charm can fail. He has a girlfriend. Give up. There are plenty of other men. College guys are everywhere. That was what bad friends were for. They didn't stop you from going astray. They helped. I knew they never saw me as Chloe's real husband. To them, Chloe was single with a marriage license. Then Audrey's cool voice cut in. What about Ethan? Your marriage is legally binding. Suddenly, putting that cigarette butt in her mug felt a little excessive. The room fell silent. Then Chloe answered lazily. True love, my ass. I'm just having fun. Haven't you heard? You only crave what you can't have. I missed whatever came next. My stomach hurt worse, and I had to reach the restroom. Back home, Chloe went to the study while I showered for bed. I just dried my hair when Chloe came in. I couldn't read her expression, but it made my heart ache. Ethan, we need to talk. Chloe spoke calmly. I nodded. 10 minutes later, I understood her point. Our open marriage now came with extra rules. I couldn't get involved with any of her close friends, along with not posting anything online and keeping both sets of parents in the dark. 3 rules total. Why not just divorce me? I asked bitterly. We have no reason to divorce. Chloe answered plainly and left. I sensed this had something to do with Noah. Maybe she wanted rules so I wouldn't interfere with her pursuit of him. Even she couldn't imagine how completely love would consume her. From that day on, Chloe practically vanished. She didn't return to Crescent Ridge Estates for over 2 weeks. I went back to living alone, only now I had a staff. You're not children. Handle your problems maturely. Fighting solves nothing. That afternoon, I heard Linda on the phone. She hid beneath the stairs and kept her voice low. I listened from above. Sophie's a good girl, and she treats you well. Your father and I feel good about you too. Whatever happened, talk it through. Linda clearly approved of Sophie. Had Noah and Sophie fought? Chloe must have worked hard these past 2 weeks. How else could she make such a loving couple fight so soon? I was done interfering. I'd let everything fall apart. When Chloe asked for a divorce, I'd gladly sign. I turned to go upstairs. Sir, may I take half a day off? Linda stopped me, looking embarrassed. Something happened at home. I need to handle it. You can dock my pay. I stopped and looked down at her with concern. What happened? Linda, I'll drive you. I wanted to get out anyway. Couldn't impose. You don't have to. Linda was overwhelmed. Cabs were hard to get at Crescent Ridge Estates. It's fine. Give me 10 minutes to change. 10 minutes later, I drove her out. I pretended to ask for the address, then headed straight there. I subtly probed, and Linda shared plenty about Noah and Sophie. But I still couldn't learn what caused the fight. If even their parents didn't know, it had to be hard to discuss. Near the complex, I spotted Sophie. She sat on the edge of a planter, looking miserable. Thank you so much, sir. Please come up for tea, Linda said gratefully. No problem. You have something to handle, so go. After thanking me again, Linda hurried upstairs. I quickly turned around and drove towards Sophie. Thank God she was still sitting there heartbroken. I fixed my clothes, lowered the window, and called out. Sophie, what are you doing here? Ethan. She visibly froze when she saw me. It's blazing out. Get in. I'll drive you. I offered without hesitation. Sophie shook her head, looking exhausted. Ethan, I want to be alone. I got out and pulled her toward the car. Don't brood in this heat. Let's get a drink. Sophie didn't resist and quietly took the passenger seat. Half an hour later, I took her to the Velvet Note. Come on. Sing out whatever's hurting you. I booked a private room and shoved a microphone into her hand. Sophie suddenly burst into tears. Her tears caught me completely off guard. Ethan, Noah wants to break up. What do I do? She choked out the words. They were already breaking up? I was stunned. In my past life, Chloe chased Noah for a year, before Sophie finally gave up. Wasn't this way too soon? What happened? Tell me. Maybe I can help. I composed myself and spoke calmly. Yesterday, I accidentally saw a text on his phone. Some woman was sending him flirty messages. I lost it and we started fighting. I demanded her contact information. He refused, so I said I didn't trust him. Then he said we should just break up. Sophie covered her eyes, heartbroken and regretful. I asked without showing a reaction. What exactly did the message say? After a pause, she answered, I want to see you. Please give me a chance. So love could even bring Chloe to her knees. For me, even black magic and giving her everything wouldn't work. She'd never even smiled at me, much less begged. After everything I endured in my past life, I'd finally accepted that I wasn't her true love. But Sophie was different. She hadn't been reborn. Noah had impulsively ended things, and she kept drinking. I pitied her and wanted to tell her to accept the breakup before Chloe targeted her and made things worse. But I was also annoyed. Why should Chloe split them up so fast? Ethan, I really love him. I know my family isn't well off, and I'm not good enough for him, but I'll work hard. Sophie was getting drunk and rambling. I nodded. Lots of girls wanted him, but he chose me. I was so happy. I swore he'd never regret it. So why did he change his heart? What do I do? My heart hurts so much. Sophie's eyes were red as she spoke. I quickly stopped her from pouring another drink. Don't assume the worst. Maybe he hasn't changed. That text only proves someone's chasing him. Not that she won. Sophie gave a defeated smile. This is different. Girls have chased him before. He always told me so I wouldn't worry. There has to be more to this. I'll ask him to dinner and talk. I tried to comfort her. Thank you, Ethan. Sophie forced a faint smile. No need. We're friends. I patted her shoulder. Before long, she passed out drunk. I had a server take her to a room upstairs. Once she was settled, I prepared to leave. Then her phone rang. It was Noah. I answered. Sophie, where are you? Noah sounded anxious. Noah, it's Ethan. Sophie's at the Velvet Note. Come get her. Ethan? How did you? Noah sounded confused. I explained how we'd run into each other. After a brief silence, he spoke again. This is all my fault. I blocked her. I'll change my number tomorrow. Poor kid. Even a new identity wouldn't save him. Chloe had endless ways to find him. Who is this woman? What's her name? Noah hesitated. Ethan, I'll tell you when I get there. I waited calmly for him. Meanwhile, I texted Chloe a reminder. Dad's birthday is in 2 days. You need to come home with me as usual. Noah soon arrived and looked heartbroken over Sophie. With my help, he barely calmed down. Ethan, I can't tell you who she is. She's a married woman. I want nothing to do with her. Noah's eyes were red and swollen. He'd clearly been crying. How do you know she's married? Did you investigate her? In my past life, I'd wondered if he knew about me. Finding me wasn't hard, but I kept an extremely low profile. Noah wiped his tears and shook his head. No, I'd never be with her, so why investigate? Besides what? I was getting impatient. I'm afraid to. Her harassment already makes me feel sick. If I found her husband, I'd feel even guiltier. I couldn't face him. Tears fell as Noah spoke. That reason genuinely surprised me. He avoided the truth simply out of shame. Had he deceived himself for the same reason in my past life? I stayed silent for a long time, then sighed. Whatever you choose, don't regret it. Then I left. Sophie would be fine with him there. To my surprise, Chloe was home. Linda was pouring her tea. I looked over while changing my shoes. Linda, why are you back already? You could have stayed off until tomorrow morning. Linda shook her head. I didn't need that long, sir. Everything at home is settled. No wonder Noah had reached out to Sophie. Linda must have helped bring them together. Linda poured me tea, then left. Only Chloe and I remained in the living room. We sat across from each other, drinking tea. Neither of us spoke for a long time. I finally broke the silence. Dad's birthday is the day after tomorrow. Remember to get a gift. Chloe looked at me. Mom said you gave her a pair of jadeite bangles. I answered flatly. Yeah. She likes collecting them. I had a pair of violet ones, so I gave them to her. Chloe's gaze locked onto my face. She seemed to be searching for something. She leaned back on the couch. What are you after? Trying to win over my mom? I held her gaze. As far as I could remember, we'd never looked at each other this long. I gave her mother the bangles to win her over, so she judged Noah more harshly later. I kept helping Sophie to balance the scales. I tried getting close to Audrey, just to get under Chloe's skin. Those were my private little schemes. Whether they worked didn't matter. I'd never planned to turn this marriage around. I looked completely innocent. What's wrong with a son-in-law pleasing his mother-in-law? You don't need to suspect another scheme. You only need to know. If you want a divorce now, I'll sign immediately. Chloe's gaze turned cold. I'll give you 3%. I gave her a knowing look. Still don't think he's worth it? Chloe narrowed her eyes. I couldn't read what was in them. After a moment of silence, her answer remained unchanged. Dream on. Did she think it over and decide Noah still wasn't worth the price? She chased him for over 2 weeks and nearly broken up the couple. Yet she still hadn't figured out her own feelings. I stared at Chloe. What if I walk away with nothing? Sinclair holding stock was tempting, but I wouldn't starve without it. I'd escape the coming mess sooner and start a better life. Chloe answered without hesitation. No, that genuinely surprised me. I couldn't help reminding her. Haven't you considered that my being here might get in the way of your true love? After chasing Noah for over 2 weeks, she had to know he was different. She'd never worked this hard for those actors before. Chloe lowered her eyes, lost in thought. After a long pause, she answered. It won't. She really wouldn't quit until she hit a wall. How could someone so smart be so clueless about love? I sighed, said nothing more, and went upstairs to rest. The next day, Sophie texted me. Ethan, Noah, and I made up. Thanks for talking us through it. Dinner's on us next time. I thought for a moment but didn't reply. I only thought Chloe's going to be in a bad mood again. After getting ready, I went down for breakfast. Chloe was already on the couch. She looked upset. I walked past her to the dining room. Linda, what's for breakfast? Linda served the noodles as she answered. Seafood noodles. I made soy-braised eggs last night. I can add one if you'd like, sir. They're delicious. She'd also prepared bird's nest soup and sliced fruit. My appetite surged and I dug in. Soon, Chloe sat across from me. Linda served her the same breakfast. As we ate, Chloe's phone chimed. One look, and her face visibly darkened. After only 2 bites, she pushed the bowl away and left. I called after her. My parents' house, 9 tomorrow morning. Don't forget. Chloe ignored me and quickly vanished through the huge living room. That message was probably from Noah, and it had clearly upset her. Otherwise, she wouldn't react like that. I glanced at Linda cleaning the kitchen. Had Noah told her a married woman was pursuing him? Once that married woman left, I told Linda, I'm going out. I won't be back for lunch. Then I hurried out. I'd booked a full physical. My last exam had focused too much on my prostate. My health came first. After spending most of the day at the hospital, I'd finished nearly every test. Before leaving, I thought it over and went to Audrey's department. I smiled the moment I saw Audrey. Dr. Sterling. She was eating a boxed lunch at her desk. Her brows knitted when she saw me. I sat beside her. All alone? Such a simple lunch. Nice. I always knew you were different from them. They're spoiled princesses. You're a real lady. Audrey gave me a cold glance. Trying to use me to provoke Chloe again? She'd seen through me last time. I quietly pulled out my phone. Let me show you something. I opened Sophie's social profile. Her cover photo showed her holding hands with Noah under a bright blue sky. They grinned at the camera, goofy and happy. I watched Audrey's reaction. Do you know this guy? Audrey stared for a few seconds. Something shifted in her eyes. But it wasn't love at first sight. She looked away. No, but his girlfriend is Sophie. So Audrey had focused on Sophie. I paused. A photo couldn't capture Noah's real charm. But in my past life, Audrey was just as obsessed with him as Chloe. Even a photo should have stirred something. Did she only fall for him after getting to know him? I should have asked more when we worked together. Then I wouldn't be so lost now. I composed myself and sighed. Right? Did Chloe tell you? This is the college guy she's chasing. Audrey's gaze sharpened. I knew there was someone, but not who. How do you know? Even after overhearing us that day. You shouldn't know this much. I looked at her. They nearly broke up yesterday, and I talked them down. His name is Noah Bennett. He's at the Hartwell University School of Music. He doesn't know I'm Chloe's husband. Audrey wanted to ask more, but the others returned, so she stopped. I took the hint and stood. Dinner tonight. I can tell you plenty. Audrey nodded. Fine. Pick the time and place. As I left, I heard her coworker tease her. Dr. Sterling finally has a man. A dinner date tonight? I didn't catch Audrey's reply. I chose Briarwood Tea House, the same place Ryan took us last time. It's quiet. Tea-scented rooms were perfect for talking. Audrey arrived that evening. I hadn't even gone home. I'd taken a nap in the private room. I was still dreaming on the tatami when she arrived. Audrey patted my cheek. Wake up. I woke, stretched and smiled apologetically. Sorry, I'm not a graceful sleeper. Audrey's lips seemed to curl as she sat at the tea table. After Miles Turner came in and brewed our tea, I dismissed him and we got down to business. From meeting Noah at the cafe and hitting Sophie with my car, to everything that led to our friendship, I told Audrey the whole story, then sighed. What a chain of coincidences. I never saw any of it coming. Audrey summed it up. So you know about their relationship, but neither knows who you really are. I nodded. Audrey stared at me. Why not tell them outright? I shot back, you know Chloe. Would telling them help? Would she give up Noah for me? Even if I fought with everything I had, I couldn't stop her. She never loved me. I'm not even an old flame. How can I compete with her new love? My voice grew heated. The despair and resentment from my past life began to return. Surprise flickered in Audrey's eyes. Chloe had been in countless scandals before, and I'd never reacted like this. Of course, Audrey didn't know what was coming. I calmed down. I told Chloe, and she still did whatever she wanted. She won't stop until she gets Noah. Telling Noah won't change anything. He might feel too guilty to face me, and reject Chloe even harder. That would only make her more aggressive. As for Sophie, she can't compete with Chloe. I considered every possibility. Nothing would change. Audrey spoke again. Then why tell me? Bitterness pricked my heart. Now you know I'm not being kept in the dark. I'm willing to divorce. Chloe refuses. I need you to stop talking her out of it. Audrey knew better than anyone how much I'd loved Chloe. She'd grown up with Chloe, and witnessed my 10 years of devotion. Hearing this now, she looked shaken. Are you sure? I nodded firmly. I'm sure. Audrey was silent for a long time. I didn't know what she was thinking. She only spoke as we parted. It's good you finally let go. I was too stubborn before. I thought devotion would eventually be rewarded. As an outsider, Audrey knew this marriage was entirely one-sided. On the way home, I felt lighter than ever. At last, someone else knew I'd moved on. I hummed home, took a bath, and went to bed. I got up early the next day for Dad's birthday. After preparing his gift, I texted Chloe. Remember, we're going to my parents' house today. In my past life, Chloe hadn't shown up. I'd even excused her, saying work was too busy. She might skip it again, but I wouldn't make excuses this time. When I arrived, I greeted Dad cheerfully. Happy birthday, Dad. Mom watched with a smile. Why are you here so early? Did you eat? I linked arms with Dad and sat down. Yeah. What do you think I hired a staff for? Dad saw no one else coming and immediately frowned. Why are you alone? Where's Chloe? She's getting worse and worse. I smiled awkwardly and stayed silent. Given Dad's position, plenty of people would have come to celebrate. But he was too upright for that kind of thing. He only celebrated with family. I was his only son. He still hoped Chloe would come and make it feel festive. But this year, she hadn't even shown her face. Just as my parents started criticizing Chloe, I spotted a tall figure at the door. She was carrying a gift. I clapped a hand over Dad's mouth. Chloe's here. Dad's words died in his throat, and he looked awkward. Mom came from the kitchen, delighted. Chloe, you're here. Come in and sit down. Chloe smiled politely. I just got here. She sat across from Dad and me, elegant and refined. Chloe placed the gift on the table. Happy birthday, Dad. This is just a small gift. It looked like a box of tea. Luxury gifts were inappropriate for a government official. Dad loved tea. Chloe had chosen wisely. Dad couldn't open it in front of her, so he smiled and nodded. I'm happy you came. You didn't need a gift. Chloe answered gracefully. Work keeps me busy, so I rarely visit you both. I couldn't come empty-handed on your birthday. Chloe was usually cold, but she knew how to charm people. She also had shared interests with Dad. She wouldn't throw her weight around in my parents' home. Business instinct was in her bones. So when she later turned against everyone for Noah, I was completely stunned. Dad waved it off. Don't say that. A woman should prioritize her career. Their polite little performance amused me. They chatted pleasantly enough. Within minutes, they were talking business. I was bored stiff. At noon, a feast was laid out. We sat together eating and talking. For a moment, it felt like a dream. Soon after lunch, Dad got a call. Why go through all this? I just ate. I appreciate it. Fine, I'll be there. He hung up and explained, both helpless and pleased. My secretary found out and organized a dinner. They're insisting I go. Mom nodded. Then go. They mean well. Before leaving, Dad said, Chloe, I'm heading out. Stay and relax a while. Chloe agreed. Of course, Dad. A few minutes after Dad left, she excused herself. She said she had work, so I followed her out. I dropped into her passenger seat. Chloe stared at me coldly. What are you doing? I shamelessly buckled up. Give me a ride. My car's in the shop, and cabs are a pain. Chloe pressed her lips together, visibly annoyed. She clearly didn't want to, but refusing outside my parents' house would look bad. In the end, she gave in and drove me to Crescent Ridge Estates. In the car, I caught a faint tobacco scent just like Noah's. Had he sat in this seat this morning? He said he'd block Chloe. Why were they meeting again? Something felt wrong. Was Sophie about to get cheated on? Noah wouldn't accept Chloe this quickly. Otherwise, why had she gone so crazy in my past life? She'd wanted him because she couldn't have him. I slipped a lighter into the seat gap. Then I moved the seat far back. If Noah rode here again, he'd have to adjust it, and he'd find the lighter. I closed my eyes. I'm taking a nap. Chloe didn't answer. The car fell silent. Then her phone rang. She answered openly. It was Noah. Answering instantly showed how much his call mattered. She didn't even care that her husband was beside her. Chloe's voice softened in a way I'd never heard. What happened? Don't cry. Wait there. I'm coming. The second she hung up, she pulled over and ordered me out. Take a cab or I'll send someone for you. I asked curiously what happened. Chloe snapped, I have something to handle. I refused to move. Take me with you. I'm bored anyway. I expected her to refuse, but she sneered. You really want to come? Noah must have gotten into trouble and needed her help. I'd only watch her rescue another man. Chloe loved making me miserable, so I'd regret marrying her. I nodded. Yes. She said nothing else and floored it. We stopped outside a mall. Chloe went straight in and I followed. We went up to the 6th-floor restaurants. A Japanese restaurant was in chaos. Something had happened. I stayed outside and watched from a distance. 5 minutes later, Chloe and Noah came out together. Noah's eyes were red. He'd clearly been crying. Chloe stroked his hair like he was an adorable puppy. She rose slightly on her toes, listening intently. She never bothered hiding her rumored flings in public. For a moment, my heart felt hollow. I forced the feeling down, took a photo, and left. In the elevator, I heard people discussing the incident. Apparently, Noah found a problem with the ingredients and argued with the staff. The owner locked him in the kitchen and wouldn't let him leave. He really was just a kid. Even this required Chloe's help. Worse, Chloe was happy to do it. I took a cab home and sent the photo to Audrey on the way. Her reply came after I got home. Why had I sent it? Did I want her pity? Then Mason called. Ethan, are you free tomorrow? Yeah. Why? Mason sounded cheerful and happy. Come help me try on suits. Emily and I are getting engaged next week. I readily agreed. Sure. Send me the address. I'll be there at 8. Mason hung up and immediately sent it. I rubbed my temples and walked wearily into the living room. Linda and Carol were cleaning. They greeted me when I came in. I lay on the couch and closed my eyes. I couldn't stop seeing her stroke his hair. He'd easily gotten the tenderness I'd begged for over 10 years. I opened my eyes and looked at Linda. Linda, let me ask you both something. Linda respectfully stopped working. Go ahead, sir. Well, I thought for a few seconds and made up a story. A friend of mine has a great girlfriend, but a rich married woman is chasing him. He's wavering. Who should he choose? The two exchanged a look, then answered. His girlfriend, of course. Never touch a married woman. I stared at Linda and pressed on. What if she's rich and won't give up? Linda objected emphatically. He still has to reject her. Breaking up a family is immoral. What's so good about a cheating woman? The whole family had solid values. How had they fallen last time? Chloe had somehow twisted all their morals. Carol was equally outraged. No matter how handsome he is, the other man is still a boy toy. Linda thought of her son and cautiously asked, Sir, how old is your friend? I answered casually. A college senior. He graduates next year. Linda visibly relaxed. I stood and headed upstairs. All right, Linda, go make dinner. That evening, I only wanted to eat, collapse in bed, and zone out. Instead, I fell asleep on the couch. Chloe woke me. Ethan, wake up. I opened my eyes to her hard expression. She held the lighter I'd planted in her car. Found already? She must have driven him home. I pretended to be confused and rubbed my eyes. What is it? Chloe tossed the lighter at me and sneered. Did you leave this in my car on purpose? Was that fun? I held the lighter and calmly shot back. It's just a lighter. Why are you so mad? Chloe glared at me darkly. Don't play dumb. I apologized casually. Did the boy you rescued see it and get jealous? Sorry about that. I'll be more careful next time. Chloe warned me. Don't try anything against him or I won't go easy on you. I gave a bitter laugh, my calm facade cracking. Relax. I never entered the restaurant. I don't even know who he is. She'd protect Noah at all costs. She'd also keep today's incident out of the news to protect his reputation. Chloe turned and headed upstairs, radiating cold fury. She'd finally gotten closer to Noah, only for him to find another man's lighter. Now the gap between them had doubled. Of course she was furious. Once Chloe left, Linda quietly reminded me, Sir, dinner is ready. I nodded, ate dinner, showered, and went to bed. I wanted to do nothing else. I needed my energy for Mason tomorrow. Then my mother-in-law texted me a list of dozens of herbs. Ethan, have someone get these herbs. She needs to take them twice a day for 2 weeks. Wide awake, I replied. Mom, what is this prescription for? She replied. It's a tonic to nourish her and replenish her blood. At this rate, when will I ever get grandchildren? I wanted to refuse. Chloe was perfectly healthy and wouldn't follow her orders anyway. After hesitating, I agreed. Fine, but I don't know if she'll take it. She sent me an okay sticker. Don't worry, just get the herbs. Leave the rest to me. The next day, I sent Linda to get the herbs. She stared at the long list and asked in surprise. Sir, are you feeling unwell? I smiled and shook my head. No, my mother-in-law wants these herbs for Chloe. She wants grandchildren soon. I made no effort to hide it from Linda. That way, whenever she saw Chloe and Noah acting lovey-dovey, she'd remember me, Chloe's poor husband. Sir, one of my relatives is an experienced traditional medicine practitioner. He has a formula that works as soon as you take it. Want me to ask him? Linda kindly offered. Really? That'd be great. Could you get me a few doses to try in the next couple of days? I pretended to be delighted. If it works, I'll give you a raise. No need for that, sir. I'll ask him today.